How you
Yeah,
feeling today, Bruce?
Ben, it's been a bit of a long day, but yeah, overall, I feel pretty good. I feel fortunate in many ways. Um, I'm not gonna complain. No.
Great.
Yeah.
I actually did a practice yesterday. There's a Headspace Guide to Meditations on Netflix, and dive into those. The guy's really great. He talks super smooth about how he learned his methods, how he went through a lot of pain to go be a monk, came back with all this knowledge, and ended up crying because I was so fortunate that I was alive. And the exercise is, who or what are you most fortunate for in your life right now? And you think about it, but as soon as you think about it, you feel the feeling that it gives you and you try to hold on to that feeling. In experiencing the feeling, you can open a part of yourself that is grateful and feels really good. uh, and remembering that feeling, you can bring that with you later in any time of the day. You got to grow this part of you to be empathetic, and to, if you want to feel more grateful for your day, you can exercise that through that kind of a practice. But when I felt it, I just started crying because I was so stoked. I was thinking of some buddies who are going through harder times and how fortunate I was to just run freely, run farther than usual.
Mm.
Uh, Gifted with the body that, and just can do whatever the hell I want from here on forward. And some people right now can't do that. How did
Bro, like, I'm not. I don't want to. I'll get into that in a sec, but I just gotta say this because I'm not sure if it's the MDMA I took over the weekend or if it's like Zoom, but your face and like everything I'm seeing on the screen keeps getting blurry for like a couple seconds. It's like I don't know if it's some lag or if it's like a residual effect of me having taken copious amounts of MDMA over the weekend. But nevertheless, yeah, what you said is it's powerful stuff, man. And um, so often when you speak about these kind of like deeper, introspective, meditative type of topics, it just reminds me of my mother, my family in general, but especially my mother. She's very spiritual and in tune with her inner self, and it's been able to get her through a lot of really difficult times and help a lot of people along the way. So it's I've said it before, but at some point I think it'd be really cool if you met my family. You'd
Yeah,
fit right in.
yeah. So for people, I just want to introduce like our relationship, and I'll let you go wherever you want with how we met or what you thought of me. But Bruce was around. He's been a genuine guy in my life. We met in Prague, Czech Republic. We were working for a bar crawl, and this bar crawl was speaking to hundreds of people a day for, well, $2 or $5, $5 if we signed people up to do the bar crawl for the evening, which we would then guide them. This journey taught me how, or that people aren't intimidating, and you can speak to as many people as you want. And it's kind of carried through to my personality from now. I am less scared to communicate with everybody because I talk to tens of thousands of people with this very man. And as he stood a little bit older and I was young and fragile, the words he would speak would be true to himself. They were really, he wouldn't stray far from who Bruce's character was. He didn't overly want to go to techno shows with me, but he would when he wanted to, and he genuinely honest. So then it creates this safe space or like a grounding feeling when I hung out with you. And then when I got to be back around in Europe, I was happy to meet up with you again. You had me back at your place. I came back after a couple months and you said, "Welcome home." And I just felt so, that was the nicest thing to hear. So I've always felt really welcome. And it's always been like you've been a fathering figure, or someone I do look up to and listen to, because I think you just speak from your heart. And I think you speak consistently with what resonates with you. And there's not many crossing lines or subtracting feelings, or you're not contradicting anything you say. You're just solid with a direction that you feel things and want to portray yourself as. And that isn't that common, I guess, in today's world. People are inconsistent and wanting to fit in, but you might have gotten where you are today by being consistently yourself and then shaping a life for yourself. So that's a bit about Bruce and why I like to keep in touch with him. And our chats are a podcast of its own, and we're both big fans of Joe Rogan. I remember there's a phase living with you, you'd be sleeping to the podcast. And that's where the second and third and fourth episode I did at your house of this podcast.
Yeah, in the spare bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I
Hey,
also brought a girl to.
let's
Only place.
let's cheers to those words, yeah?
Yep. I'm drinking Canadian Pilsner, which Pilsner was made in the Czech Republic. What do you got there, Bruce?
I've got Svihov Double. It's a Belgian beer, but it's made in the Czech Republic. What it is, I can't find the alcohol percentage here. Yeah, but it's
probably
it's one of the
7.
beers that I sell at my
9.
restaurant. What's that?
Probably 7 or 9. The Belgians like it strong.
Yeah.
It's pushing 11 o'clock for you too, or
it's after midnight.
Oh, okay. Yeah, appreciate you finding the time to be on here. It was a little bit troubling. We might even run another session another time, a little smoother. But I'm glad you finally made it. And I see the lag on my camera as well. It's it's like a tracer.
Yeah. At first I was like, whoa, like, is this? It like reminded me of like, you know, being on LSD a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Speaking of which, it's no secret that, at least for me, the most intense LSD experience was with Mr. Colin Glucker right here. We tried some liquid LSD once, and within 20 minutes, I was blasting off into another dimension. Somehow, Colin and what was your friend's name again?
Bryce.
Bryce. I knew it was BR.
Bryce and Bruce.
Yeah, they somehow managed to pull themselves together and go get beers. And I just remember Colin asking me, "Hey, you're gonna come with this?" And I just looked at him like, "Absolutely not, no chance." I felt so fragile. I felt like I that was the last time I really thought like about pushing the limits when it comes to psychedelics. I respect them a lot more now because of that. Because it took all of my ego away. I remember that when we first went for that walk, just putting one foot in front of the other and then opening the door and trying to go downstairs. It was like I had to teach myself all over again. And for a while, I mean, I said I was done. I would never take any psychedelics again. I have since done them, but only in microdoses.
True. What have you been microdosing?
I've microdosed mushrooms and LSD at least a dozen times in the past calendar year, I'd say.
Yeah.
But yeah, just microdose, just munch on one mushroom or, you know, quarter of a tab, even less than a quarter of a tab.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just, you know, enjoying the benefits without taking it as far as I did on the liquid stuff.
That liquid was something of its own, and it's hard to measure. And the droppers say they drop a milliliter at a time, and based on the strength of the stuff, if it dropped a milliliter, it would be as strong as it's maybe supposed to be. But I think plastic droppers can vary, and I think we were dosing ourselves quite high, potentially 1.5 times or double the amount that would regularly be a trip for people, talking like 100 micrograms being a solid trip. Pushing 150 up to 200 is what we would have done, and none of us saw that coming. I remember And am literally writing a letter to our friend Bryce right now, and he was telling me as he stared out the window, like, I am going to be sick. It's like he was in a boat, or at least that's what it felt like for me, in the bedroom, and the window out was
Mm.
the window out of the boat as we looked at everything, waving so intensely. And
Yeah, the forest, those trees were speaking to us. They were moving around. It was like watching a city full of people, but it was just trees.
oh, do you remember there were some people, and we just feel so out of our own body that we feel like talking to another body, we wouldn't be able to hold a conversation. Or do you remember other people in that park? Do you remember being scared to talk to them and not wanting to? We just walk
Yeah,
by people and everything is up. Everything. It's like we're hiding something and we don't want to hurt anybody and we don't want to get hurt. And
yeah, it was a lot of anxiety when we walked past people, and I just kept thinking like they're gonna know, like they're gonna think we're freaks,
mm,
and this is the reason why like I could not imagine going for beers at night with you guys, because even though it was hours later, I still felt that fragile like tenderness. And yeah, I knew I wouldn't be able to like thoroughly enjoy the experience. And in fact, the last time I had even come close to tripping that much, I tried to go to Radost, and I was invited by a girl I met at the Drunken Monkey, and she was just like leaving Prague in 2 days. She wanted to just meet one last time, and I walked in, that place was packed. I felt kind of weird, but then I saw her, and then I just looked at her face, and it looked like her eyes were bulging out of her skull. And I said hello, and she's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. She went to go get her friends, and I left. I
mm,
didn't say goodbye. I just walked out, and I just immediately went home. I couldn't do it. But yeah, I respect the psychedelic experience a lot more after that. And while I guess I won't be retiring from it, I don't think I'm not sure I'll be brave enough to go full on and dose myself the way I did before.
I'm really happy you did. And I remember you saying you're done with psychedelics, and I had a bit of sadness. I'm glad that it was with me, but to hear that you were done, I was like, oh no. I think they're great teachers. And I remember on the way out into the park, I was embarrassed to say, uh, I I kept stuttering and I didn't want to finish the sentence of what was feeling to me. And you just said, no, no, say it. And I'm like, I feel the air hitting me. I feel it hitting me every step. And it's so much to handle. And I wasn't sure if that was weird to say or if that was going to be resonating with everybody. But the letter I'd been writing to our friend, I mentioned I'd never sweat so much ordering sushi in my life. On that beer run, we were trying to get some food because we knew we would need some at some point. Somebody had to fuel us up. And we were just so nervous and sweating. And I was trying to communicate to him about how to be polite to the person and overstressing it and making it so difficult. And he just gave so much more money than he needed. And it just got super awkward. As he was being a legend too. He came from a little bit of a better job in Australia and he was on a journey. And he just said to me, like, whatever we end up doing, be my tour guide and I'm going to pay for everything. That was the deal at the time. It was it was fun, and I'm thanking him at the moment again for that opportunity.
Where is he now?
I believe he's back in Australia.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess most people who were abroad or living their lives in different, more abstract ways have returned back to their motherlands because of this pandy we're all dealing with.
Mm.
It's rerouted a lot of things for people, I guess. Yeah.
Have you been back to your motherland?
No, but my situation was different because, well, partially because in the beginning of all of this, um, the United States was looked at as a the laughing stock of the world, essentially. because of the way that they handled or didn't handle the situation. Um, and so, in fact, if I had originally, if I had left the Czech Republic to enter the U.S., they wouldn't have allowed me back here. They changed the rules a little bit further down the road, and made it so like if you have the right kind of visa, you can come back. Um, but still, like the travel and everything was just so difficult, and you still need to quarantine for 2 weeks when I get home, and then I have to quarantine for 2 weeks when I get back. So that's like already a month of quarantine, not counting this time I would like to spend with my family. I guess it's again different now. They've updated the whole process. You just do these negative tests, and then you just carry on with your life.
Hmm.
Have you been positive yet? Have you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did a bike trip. I cruised across BC, did 960K. From my town over to Vancouver was 860. So nailed it. Biked across the province, had a couple of great days. And then when I got into Vancouver visiting my brother, they were so skeptical to have me at their place because of the COVID. They're a bit smart, or they're people who live a little more in fear, but that's okay. What ended up happening is my brother really leaned on the pry bar to get me to stay with him, and it was, it's all cool. He's the brother, and what are the odds, really? I freaking had the COVID. I was 3 days infectious, staying with them for 5 days in total, 5 days infectious in their house, exactly what they didn't want. My brother had to, like, I'm not invited back there. There's 0 guests allowed in that house. The relationship between me and his housemates is probably bad, and their relationship might have felt a little bit of tension. But
Yeah.
me, I got a few people sick. I know I did. And you got to contact everybody. But my brother, we shared beers, lips to lips, and we shared cooking and the same room, and he didn't get it. And
So
there you go.
you were there for a few days, and while you were there, you got tested, or you got
Five
tested after the fact?
after the fact, five
And what
days
made you get
there,
tested?
infectious. My brother Dean, he wanted to know because later in time, about 3 to 5 more days after that, staying at another friend's in Victoria, he wanted to know, like, you have symptoms, you may be sick, you should go get checked, there's a
So you
pandemic
were
going on.
sick.
I was feeling symptoms, but I didn't think much of it because I was in the best shape of my life. I was in denial of this whole huge reaction to the pandemic, and when I felt a little bit sick, I didn't think it was COVID. A little bit sick. It lasted 20 days.
What did you feel?
First 3 days, um, I felt like I needed to go to bed, and me and my brother were with a group of 5 girls, and that's not usually the case. You want to go to sleep, and I was like, I'm sorry, I can't continue on. I gotta go to sleep. So, like, I'm tired. I feel weird. Woke up really sore. Had that for 2 days. That was it, though. It was just soreness. I was still feeling in great shape and hungry and could smell and taste and all the normal things. I was just extremely sore, and I'm like, oh man, I have been pushing it because we did just finish my bike trip, and then it was bars and visits. So I thought, I'm just a little bit tired, and that kind of went away. But I was still tired, and it didn't feel like a smash of anything past like being entirely sore. That was the worst feeling. I thought that was from the biking. Then I started just getting tired, and then I started getting more cold-like symptoms, exhaustion, and coughing with stuff. And at that point, I definitely had cold-like symptoms and needed to pursue probably getting checked.
What time of the year was this?
This was start of winter. This was
Okay.
at the end of fall, November, close to my brother's birthday, close to my birthday,
Gotcha.
right in between. So how did it change what you had going on? Last I saw you, you were in another apartment, you were moving, you had a good deal, you probably moved again, is what I feel. This whole, I was around, I believe, right before the pandemic, a month and a half before the pandemic started. You had moved to just south of where I'm from, or where I lived in Praha. Uh,
I was living in Prague 10 and Vršovice.
mm,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. I just moved in there.
you were you were in between working at an Asian restaurant and starting your own business. Did you end up starting a business?
I did. I have a restaurant in Manifesto Market called Nosh.
Nosh.
Yeah,
How do you spell that? What
Nosh.
does it mean?
It has many meanings. However, the most traditional meaning of the word is food or sustenance or
From
to feed.
Prague, Czech Republic.
No, it's a word that's commonly used in England. I do have a business partner who's from England.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, we
Congratulations.
thank you,
You
thank
rock.
you.
You've
Obviously,
been talking
we
about that for
we
years.
yeah, man. Finally made it happen. You know, you were there on the ground level with me, quite literally building that grill at Angel.
Mm.
We were slinging cheesesteaks, so um, I'd say more
Made
than
no money
six.
that day.
We broke even, which is like a fantastic venture because if you think about how many things we had to buy on the fly, we ran out of beef a couple times. You know, it was definitely a good experience, and I guess that was that was October or November of 2019, right?
Mm.
So yeah, we're talking just a couple months before the pandy hit. Um, and yeah, I mean, to be where I am now is actually it's pretty remarkable, and it's taken a lot of work. There's been a lot of twists and turns. You know, I spent the majority of 2020 actually unemployed, um, just burning through every bit of savings I had,
Mm.
and
Selling
finally at
the
the
odd couch.
yeah, the end of the summer, I switched apartments because the one I was in was just a little bit too expensive for me with my finances being where they were, and I luckily was actually hired for another office corporate type role with a company called Olympus. They make cameras. Maybe you've heard of them.
Mm.
They're in the camera industry like Nikon and all those other camera companies. But
I've heard of them.
yeah, I accepted the job at the end of August. Unfortunately, the start date was December 1st. So, I wasn't gonna be able to reap the benefits of being employed until January when the first salary would come. Um, and basically, I, as I have done the last couple of years, I set up. What's up?
Had the pandy hit yet, or is this the 2020 year, December
This is
2020?
I'm talking 2020
Yeah.
because I'm unemployed basically the whole year. At the end of the summer, I accept this new job, but it doesn't start till December 1st.
Mm.
And
Winter, just
yeah,
about.
so then yeah, so then you start December 1st, but your paycheck doesn't come till January 15th. So I'm like, fuck, like what am I gonna do? So actually, I'd say sometime in October, I applied to be an extra in a Netflix movie called Army of the Dead.
Nice.
Uh, got that, and then the guy who was recruiting ended up asking me if I could help him find more people. So I ended up getting like half the monkey crew and a bunch of other friends in the movie. Was getting some money for that, and then towards the end of November, with my Prague Food Society page, I started to advertise the Thanksgiving meal service, which I had also done in 2019. And basically, I had like 15 different options that people could pick from, ranging from turkey to fried chicken to mashed potatoes, string beans, mac and cheese, all the different sweet potatoes. They could pick and choose what kind of platters and meals they wanted. Uh, and my now business partner, he's a wholesaler. He owns a warehouse in a company called Elite Foods, And actually, a lot of the products that we sold when we did the cheesesteak festival together were from him. So I used them again for this Thanksgiving meal prep. And I put the order in, and he calls me back and he said, "Hey, man, like, how would you feel about opening a restaurant?"
Mm,
And
word.
yeah, and so it's kind of like comes together through that. Bit of a difficult time though because we were set to open by mid December. We opened on December 12th, but I had started that new job with Olympus on December 1st. After the first few days of us being open, it became very obvious that I couldn't do both.
Mm.
I couldn't. I
So,
mean, I could.
what was the deal with him calling you up and saying, "Are you interested in opening a restaurant?" Was it his restaurant deal? Did he have you come in at 50-50?
Yeah, so I mean, 50-50 definitely, but he had a little bit of self motivation from it because since he's a wholesaler and this pandy's been going, the restaurants in Prague haven't been ordering as much food or they've been closing down. And he had a giant backstock of products which he needed to sell.
Yeah,
So what better way to, get rid of product and sell it yourself?
amazing.
Yeah.
And
So
you
basically about
had the
99% of our product. Huh?
did you have the experience that he didn't have in the kind of managing side of things?
Yeah, I mean, well, he owns his own company, so I would say as far as being a business owner, he definitely knows more. But as far as the actual ins and outs of the gastro industry, he's definitely leaning on me for that. And since a large portion of our revenue comes from this Philadelphia cheesesteak concept, he also wanted to lean on me for that as well. And so basically, he's in the background and he's financed basically almost all of the company, but the actual groundwork and running of the company is on me,
Yeah, you
and we'll
got
go
the
as far as
energy.
I can take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So,
it.
how did you end up how did you end up here? You've always wanted to be a cook?
No, I don't
Like
want to be
a
a cook.
restaurant owner?
Yeah, that's been like a passion project of mine since I was a child. I remember the first thing I made that really inspired me was this dish called flounder a la North Carolina, which I found out of a cookbook. And ever since then, I was just kind of addicted to it. And also, the people in my family, my grandmom, both my grandmoms, uh, even my grandpa and my father just took so much pride in food preparation, making people happy through their stomachs, and that kind of just like rubbed off on me as a way to kind of bond with people and share your love for them. So while I don't have this dream of being some Iron Chef or anything like that, the work and the responsibility that comes with, let's say now, for example, owning my own restaurant doesn't feel like work. I can put in 12, 14-hour days and feel great afterwards. I don't feel stressed or worn out. It's not about the money. Obviously, I want to make money, but like I'm able to. I feel differently about it than I did, for example, working in the corporate world, where you're basically working for someone else. You don't control how much money you make. You don't control even what time you wake up in the morning. It's
Mm.
all decided by someone else. So um, finally, I'm able to make one of my dreams come true.
Did you work today?
I did. I was in the restaurant from 9 until 9:30.
How's the establishment look? How does it feel for you? And you slinging cheesesteaks?
Yeah, we've got cheesesteaks on the menu. It's Have you been to Manifesto Market?
Where is that? That's in Prague.
It's
That's a part. What part of Prague?
it's technically Prague One. It's very close to Masirkovo Nadrazi. You have the two train stations in Prague. You have the Hlavní Nadrazi, and then there's another one called Masirkovo Nadrazi, which is
Yes.
right next. Yeah, so it's right there. It's right around the corner from there.
Ooh,
And I live in Karlin now, so I just walk to the restaurant every day.
perfect. Are
Yeah,
you working on your health and fitness at all? Like other than that, or do you got
yeah,
time for it?
yeah. I mean, the you remember Hubert?
Yes.
Yeah. So he's been able to find a bunch of outdoor gyms around Prague because the gyms here have been closed since October. And yeah, we just go there depending on what body part we want to work out. We go to different gyms around the city.
Yeah, he's a G. And Do you find that just helps your all around energy? Because that's what us
Um,
older guys, I think, need to do is exert some to then
oh,
release it, open it up.
did you just call yourself an older guy?
Older guy, yeah, compared to 17. Although 17-year-olds
Yeah.
should do some exercise too.
You know what, man? I gotta say, like, my whole life, like lifting weights has never really released stress or even boosted my energy levels. I literally only do it for vanity because I want to look better.
Mm,
It doesn't make me feel better, like necessarily. Uh, what does do that for me though is playing competitive sports. That's why I was always so obsessed with doing volleyball or bring the American football around. There's something about like that competing with someone else, boost to the system that definitely, gives me more energy, makes me feel like satisfied with my day or can calm my anxiety.
mm.
But yeah, like the actual just lifting weights. Yeah, if it wasn't for the fact that I want to look better and the fact that I'll be 34 in a couple of months and I need to maintain these things, if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't even bother doing it. Um, but yeah.
Thanks for that. I think the most strenuous exercise I've had recently, or things I've gotten into, is ice skating again.
Wow.
Canadian ice
Not
skating with
even
Fada.
that's all closed down here, man. This country is in complete lockdown. I haven't heard of a stronger lockdown in the world. I don't think we basically for the last 4 or 5 months have been restricted to basically every single store is closed except for grocery stores and pharmacies. You cannot buy clothing. You cannot You can't go to hardware stores.
How is the restaurant
Um,
open?
Restaurants are open technically for takeaway and delivery. So that's how that goes.
No one's allowed
But
inside.
technically no. But since we're in a open market, people do walk in. They're just not supposed to stay and eat. Of course, we let them do that as well.
Hmm.
They're paying customers. I want them to be comfortable and eat hot food. That's the bottom line. So I send them to a more secluded location within the market, and they can chow down. But yeah, it's crazy. I mean, um, no tourism is allowed here. We have a 9 p.m. curfew. Um, a couple of weeks ago, the government met to possibly lift certain restrictions, and instead, later on that day, they announced they were tightening them. They basically told us that we need to wear masks as soon as you walk outside of your house, you're required to wear a mask. If you are in a store or like public transportation, you have to either wear two masks or one respirator. Um,
Fuck.
yeah. So what's it called? You are not allowed to travel out of your city unless you have a work permit. So you can I can't leave Prague. There's military personnel guarding the borders.
I don't like that.
We've been told today that we're going to be in this lockdown until basically the end of March. Um,
Ooh.
so and that's minimum. That's minimum. It might be longer. Businesses are closing left and right. People are really suffering because the government isn't helping the way that they should be, and the fact that people's incomes have been basically destroyed. You'd think that at least the government would have the resources available. Hey, you can't work because we're going to close your place of work, and but we're also not going to make sure you have any money to feed your kids.
Hmm.
It's crazy. To the point where like I was talking to my mom just last week, and she said, "So are you gonna come home now? Like, haven't you seen enough?" You know. Um,
What's
but
the
yeah,
answer to
it
that?
is. I can't. I'm now responsible for a business. It's
Yeah.
not it's not easy to walk away. If I walk away, I'm walking away from a great team of people I put together, my business partner, and um, you know, I just because my life isn't comfortable here right now, I can't, in good conscience, just walk away.
Are you turning a profit now? Are you?
We are just about breaking even.
Oh, hey.
So, I mean, just to put that in perspective, most restaurants, even if there's not a pandemic happening, most restaurants don't break even for the first year.
Gotcha.
We're almost breaking even, and it's been 3 months, and there's a pandemic happening. So, that all that being considered, I say the future is looking bright. We just have to be able to be smart and cut costs where we can without sacrificing quality or the overall customer experience. Just be careful and maintain our customer satisfaction level, which to this point is actually ranks pretty high. We've got very very high rankings on Domidlo, Uber Eats, Walt Food, even TripAdvisor and the Google reviews are high. So we just want to maintain that so that when some normalcy comes back, we're in a good space and we can keep this thing going.
So, what kind of things when you walked in there today? You're not on the grill, although you might help or show people exactly what you want to get done, or are you on the grill?
Yeah. So the reason why I worked so long today, and I'll be doing this for a little bit for the foreseeable future, is because one of my chefs finished. It was a bit unexpected, but his last day was yesterday. He was putting in 40 hours a week. So now his hours are going to be split amongst myself and the two other chefs we have. Um, and once life does return back to normal, we're actually going to be changing our opening hours. We'll be opening at 6 instead of 9. We'll be closing at 11 instead of 9:30. So I'm actually going to be bringing in some more chefs, and I'll be taking a step back and just kind of focusing on growing the business as long as everyone's trained and knows what they're doing.
Have you felt like it is, well, have you felt like the change in the business all, of course you started from the ground up, I guess. You started it, you found a spot, you opened the doors, gave yourself a name, and so you must have felt like a massive shift and probably feel pretty good about it. But what are the things that you like? Do you get 100% satisfaction from what you're doing already? Or
Yeah, I do. But just to circle back to the Olympus thing, like man, it was maybe the hardest decision I've ever made in my life because I spent almost all of 2020 unemployed. Then I get this job, which for Czech Republic is great money, the whole benefits package. I mean, I'm set. And then all of a sudden, in like a week, my now business partner comes to me and says, "Hey, I want to make your dreams come true." But you have to leave this guaranteed sure thing of a salary and the benefits, something you've been wishing for and haven't had this whole year, and take a gamble on yourself. And it was, I lost days of sleep over this, because I just said, the mature, the smart thing is just to say, no, I can't risk this. I've been, in this dark black hole for the past year. I cannot risk walking away for a dream. But Colin, I am a dreamer,
yeah, dude.
and
I think that's the
I swung
mature
for the
thing to do.
fences. Yeah, I said fuck it. I'll give it one more shot,
Yeah.
and so here we are. But there's a lot of work to be done still. We want to upgrade our location. The city is for sale right now because there's so many businesses closing. If you came to Prague right now, if you were allowed to, and you walked around this city, you would be. I think you might shed a tear. It's a ghost town.
Ooh.
Not only are there no tourists, but in fact, because of this new travel restriction, many of the people who lived in Prague that are not from Prague, they're from other cities in the Czech Republic, left just to avoid any complications. City's empty, and so many of our favorite places, the very place we met, hasn't opened their doors for customers in months. Think about that.
Mm,
I don't know. I mean, Big Willie's got, I guess, a good amount of money saved somewhere, but if it wasn't for that, I don't see how they could survive. Clock Tower is doing GoFundMe.
oof. Just out to everybody around the world to try to pick up some funds to just stay around.
Yeah,
Hmm.
they actually got into a bunch. See, since the pandy hit, they were doing these secret underground parties, which you would have loved. Um,
Yeah.
but they had one in November. It was like almost 200 people down there, and the cops broke down the door and came in and arrested a bunch of people. Um, and the bar, like everyone was chucking their bags of drugs on the floor. The owner of the bar, Isaac, he basically will get a fine for every single bag of drugs that was found. Um, and the prime minister, Babish, goes on the news and calls this Isaac guy out by his name. His kids apparently are getting like picked on at school.
Whew.
And but I tell you what, man, maybe I shouldn't say this, but fuck it. A couple of days after this bust, they started having parties again.
Oof.
And the reason why is because they're taking everything from him. They're taking all his money. He has nothing to lose.
Hmm.
They're not going to find him again because he doesn't have anything left to give. All you can do right now is just like get a little bit of the money back by having these parties still.
Yeah. Stay a little bit afloat. So for
Yeah.
people who don't know, Clock Tower is another bar crawl company in Prague. Back when we were there, and it was kind of blue versus green versus red on the streets to just try to encourage people to have a good time with you and not be disrespectful to anybody or each other. But I'm glad I was with the Drunken Monkey. They're the loosest.
Last week, you remember Dima,
Off the top of my head, I
Russian guy, had like a mole on his face.
yes.
What about? Yeah, he had a birthday, so I went to his birthday. He rented out like a hostel because he's staying in a hostel. Um, I don't know if you remember Ahoy Hostel. Uh,
Nope.
he's staying there, and he invited. I don't know if you remember Yadi.
I think I do.
Yeah, the Mexican musician. Um, yeah, he come
Mm.
around.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you remember Kiro, the Egyptian guy? Kind of muscular.
No, not right now,
Okay.
Kiro.
Yeah, it was like a
I
clock
got the couple in
tower.
my mind.
Yeah, it was like a clock tower party almost. There's a bunch of those guys there, but yeah, it was fun.
Everyone's
Played
staying
giant.
around.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, the people that you met from the other companies are like settled in here. They're married or they have kids. A lot of the monkey people were transient. They were staying here, teaching English for a little bit, or just trying to spend the summer abroad. But from the other companies, many of those guys had already been here in Prague for 5, 10 years. Think of Felix as an example.
Yep.
I saw him today, by the way. He stopped by the restaurant. Uncle
I'm
Fifi.
good. Mixed
He's
feelings about that
he
guy. It's a crazy life. It's a crazy life. You can make money hiring people and have kids. Uh, you can make money promoting to people on the street to go party and go drink with them. I mean, times are a lot different once you've been doing it for a few years. And that doesn't overly sound that appealing to people who don't like alcohol as much as maybe I like beer. But it was a bloody trip. And yeah, there's some dodgy things, or it feels dodgy sometimes. A lot of morals are different in that situation compared to just day to day American 9 to 5 jobs or Canadian 9 to 5 jobs walking around.
You know what, man? I moved to Prague and could not have anticipated what was in store for me when I started working at Monkey. I didn't plan on working at Monkey. I just Googled what would an American want to do in Prague, and the first thing that popped up was Drunken Monkey. Emailed Drunken Monkey. I emailed them. That's how like out of touch I was with the whole thing. I
Yeah.
think Peter must have responded. I come down. I met Felix, and the rest is history, man. And I got to say that I left Prague in December of 2015. So about almost 1 year after I'd moved there, I left for a few months to be with my family for a little bit, and I was hooked. I didn't know if I was coming back when I left or when, but shortly after arriving back home, man, I'd be laying in bed and just thinking about what was I missing at Chapeau Rouge right now? You know, like what were you guys up to? I just couldn't get out of my head, and I just knew like it was consuming my thoughts. So I absolutely knew I was going to come back. However, when I returned, things were different. A lot of people had already left, and I found myself chasing the memories.
Mm.
You know,
Had you not done that before in your life?
no,
Neat. Yeah,
because the
that's a
only
big
time I
thing.
had ever, the only like I had obviously gone to the West Coast for university at Arizona State. And I did go back and forth a couple of times, but um, every time I came back, it was always the same. A slight difference. I wasn't at some point. I wasn't really going to house parties as much. I started going to bars because when I first moved to Arizona, I wasn't 21, so I couldn't go to bars. My partying was at house parties. Then once I became old enough, it switched to the bars and the clubs. That was the only difference, but I was okay with it. It was a new experience for me. I never done the clubbing scene in Philadelphia, so I was just taking it in stride. I never really thought of like missing something that had been, taken away from me. Um, but 2016 coming back to Prague, um, it was crazy. I mean, one by one, everyone just started to take off,
Mm.
um, and then for whatever reason, some of the people that didn't leave, I wasn't as close with. For whatever reason. For example, Kevin, our dear friend Kevin. I
Mm.
spent so much time with that guy, but over the course of so many of our friends leaving, obviously there's you, there's Matt, but his roommates, um, it just yeah, our friendship changed. A bit of a shame, because he would be right now like next to Felix, the oldest friend that I would have here. Felix is a little different because I only saw Felix when it was a Drunken Monkey related night. Whereas with Kevin, we went to Bratislava all together. We all took that trip. It was a different type of relationship.
Yeah, I guess you were really attached to the good friends and the good times. And ah, I try to tell people, even my own father, like, you gotta reach out to other people and keep the flow of people coming in as they slowly trickle out. Sometimes it's not your fault. Sometimes they are people who just need to move on because their time in a certain spot was limited. They always live on in you too. If we're talking about people who pass away or people who just aren't around in your life anymore, like, you never forget what part of them vibrates into you, and like, it's crazy how they stay with you.
When did you leave Prague? Was it in October or November?
October. Oh,
Okay.
nope, nope, sorry, August. It was August. I
No,
got there
no,
in
no,
October.
no, because that festival we did together would have been right around Halloween. Yeah, so I think you left in November.
Oh, are you talking about the
2019.
oh, okay. Yep, yep, yep. Let me get into. Ooh, we went to a Halloween party together. What was
No.
that?
Oh, wait, we got invited to one. The one at the Korean restaurant.
Oh yeah, I think I showed up on the outside of it. You were going through some stressful times there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't want to be there. I didn't
Oh
want to be
man,
there, and
there's a
I
one of
felt
your
bad because they were
beautiful
super
girls.
excited to have me. They were, but bro, like, yeah, it probably wasn't the best idea. Like, while that would have been a new experience, man, like, it just would have been it would have been a culture shock, not just for you and I, but for them as well. Because one thing I learned by working at that restaurant is, and this isn't a problem, but I am, I think Americans and Canadians are so different than like traditional South Koreans.
Mm,
Just, I mean, from everything, just like even the smallest like details about how you communicate or how you eat. like how you pour shots for someone, like
So
everything.
for the people listening, when I was back in Prague throughout some European backpacking just before the pandemic, Bruce was working at a Korean barbecue place, and the Korean barbecue place, correct me if I'm wrong, was totally run by and owned by Koreans. And
Yeah, yeah.
you
And you
are an
remember
American.
Sale and Sale? You met Sale, yeah?
Seo the boss or the son
Yeah.
or
He was the boss.
yeah.
And did you meet his wife?
I was in there a few times, and what I remember is wife is maybe very quiet, very timid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's not wife anymore.
Ooh. Did
Yeah.
that happen at the same time as you leaving too?
Just about, man. It was like the wheels started in that for that. I remember coming
Drama.
in one day. His wife was supposed to have come back. She didn't. I come in. He was pissed drunk down in the restaurant. He
Woo,
was crying all night.
woo.
Um, yeah, 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 yeah.
Dang, son. I don't know. Human reaction, normal there. You're
It
just sitting
happens.
in a
Yeah.
restaurant that you built with. Oh, we don't even begin to understand the value system that they have or the honor system. I don't think we know like where his intentions are with having a restaurant. Maybe you get instant pleasure from filling people's stomachs and smiles when you see how they enjoy your food. Maybe for him, building an empire and having a wife by his side is highest priority, and maybe all about the money. And I don't
Well,
know.
all I know is at some point she was very unhappy. She didn't want to be in Prague anymore, and she asked him to return back to Korea with her, and he
Yep.
said no. And I don't know if that was the catalyst for them ending the marriage, or if there were some other things. I do know that he had a very verbally aggressive way of communicating with her.
Mm.
Yeah.
Which in other cultures, I almost think it's, well, I think all around the world, there are people who just enter these kinds of relationships. America, Canada, Czech Republic, Asian countries, they're, oh, geez, let's not even get started about like some places where they have to wear headscarves and stuff and they don't respect women at all. This is, you would just constantly talk to ladies like this. And
Yeah.
maybe Asia's a middle ground between.
But hey, man, like I really I'm grateful for my time there. Actually, um, I've taken some of the things I learned there, and I would say, word this correctly, some of the techniques, cooking techniques that he taught me, and I've implemented them in my own restaurant. Um, so yeah, I'm grateful for my time there, that he gave me the opportunity to learn, and yeah, I definitely wish that guy all the best. Far as I know, he's already back on the dating market. I know he was speaking to his cook down there now, and she told me that he got really drunk one day and then was like prepping to go on a date, and she was telling him not to go because he was like hammered, and
Mm,
this was like a first date. But yeah, he's trying his best to live his life, and nothing wrong with that.
I remember the second place I lived for a year was New Zealand, and I flew over from New Zealand to Sydney, and I stayed with an old friend, the first guy I ever went traveling with, the first group, and he was living in Sydney. And when I got there and staying on his couch, a day later, he had a date as well, and he was just getting wasted, and he just kept calling it like it's social lubricant, man. It's just gonna, this is gonna help.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good way to start. It worked out. He's with the girl still, and I might be wrong to say that they are now married. Um,
Oh, praise Jah.
it's it's a way to kick into things.
Speaking of that, I guess is Maddie's engaged and expecting?
I had a dream about him, and I don't. The dream's throwing this all off. Was that true? So yeah, I remember he got married, and the dream was something about maybe him doing something more, but maybe I saw it for real. Did you know about this?
I saw I think his woman, his lady, posted something about it. I don't think he did, but she's more like active on social media. She's always tagging him in their photos. yeah, I mean, they started with the apartment, then they got the dog, then they got engaged, and yeah, I think now they're expecting.
Well, I hope Maddie gets to listen to this and hear us say like congratulations.
Congrats, Matty Ice.
Yeah.
Do you know, obviously with the pandy and everything, the wedding, Kevin's wedding was
Mm.
the plans have obviously changed. You were going to DJ there. Do you have any updates on that, or what's he saying about that?
I haven't talked to him for a while, and yeah, speaking of people on first dates, from what I know, they went on their first date, and both, unbeknownst to each other, ended up having LSD on their first date, just trying to keep it real casual and not give a damn about it. But then they found
Yeah.
that out together and just so cute. Um,
Hmm.
so these creative people, they were gonna have a wedding, and honestly, I haven't talked to him about it. I think I talked to him saying I wasn't gonna be able to make it because I was up to some mad adventure in Canada, and the pandy's been going on. I don't know how they would have rescheduled it, but they had beautiful plans of making an
Yeah,
entire festival on a farm through just their creative friends. I gotta hit them up. You haven't talked to
that'll
him
probably
for a
be
long time, eh?
yeah. It's been forever, but yeah, I guess that'll just have to get postponed until we get some normalcy,
Yeah.
normalcy back here because um yeah, I mean, with how tight these rules are, it's not looking good. What's the situation where you're at? Like, are you guys like free to live, or is there some kind of guidelines, or what's going on?
Thanks for asking. The We're just wearing face masks indoors, and we used to be like they're trying to make people not have any parties, anybody over 5 people, only visit people in your household and one other household. But in Canada, and at least where I'm at, it's a 10-minute drive to a town, and we're so spaced out. Like, I haven't seen a police officer, or there's no one enforcing. We're too spread out. But there's not many people for me to go see either. Let's say if I was in the town of Golden and there was 5,000 people in that town, and we were to have a party and we got too loud, we would get in trouble. But it's almost everybody self-regulating, listening
Mm.
to news and being their own judge of how safe they need to be, and finding a balance of, ooh, I got a little stoned. Finding a balance of how big of a risk they want to, like how wide of a circle they want to have. And there's no military, I haven't talked to a police officer this entire time,
But
which may be
like, are
enforcing a
things
law.
open?
Or
Like, can you eat at a restaurant? Can you have a beer at a bar?
that is that's a real better question too. Everything was shut, everybody lost their jobs, at the start of the year, but they did start opening restaurants. Everything's spaced out. Bars are obviously no fun because everybody is supposed to be spaced out. So you're going to a bar to pay more for a beer that you can't mingle with somebody.
Mm.
Uh, you can go to restaurants. People have come up with creative ways. Like in the downtown of Golden, actually, they've made like domes which look like igloos, and you can just book an igloo, and it's actually something that I kind of want to do, just to go eat in an igloo. But this is a great way to like bring more table space and actually an exciting dining experience. Even though you're in the midst of a pandemic, you can get this whole like clear
Yeah.
psychedelic pattern igloo dome.
Yeah, I've seen in California they have a similar kind of thing going with places being open, they're just spreading people out. But there's places in the U.S. that never locked down. Florida never locked down. Georgia did a lockdown for like a month and then they opened up. Cali's opening back up. Arizona. Um, but yeah, the crazy thing is that like a place like Florida has one of the oldest populations of any states in the U.S. So you'd think that their death rate or there's some kind of numbers would be crazy because they didn't close anything. But man, it's the same as everywhere else.
Do you watch the
So I mean,
news to find out
I
that
don't,
information?
I don't. I just look things up on my own. For example, one of the things I looked up that is very interesting to me is that, well, not that many more people died in 2020 than died in the last every year for the last decade.
Yes.
How's that possible?
We are not, it's not that high of a number of things, people dying. I think maybe the invention of a prescription drug might have like been half the amount or equal to the amount of people who died from COVID, or
Yeah.
maybe the invention of the car when it came into play, or it's
I
nothing
mean,
like a world war,
the
obviously.
United States has already vaccinated more people than have died from COVID.
Mm.
Um, I'll just say this: as far as I understand, uh, two people in my family did technically die from COVID. The oldest member of my family was one of them, and his wife. Um, now, I've actually gone back and forth on this a lot. Um, Initially, a lot of fear, and partially that's I think because of my conspiracy theorist family that's been talking about doomsday for the last like 5 years of my life, and now it's like I told you so, I told you so, it's
Here we
happening.
go. Here we go.
Yeah. Um, and then also having, because at the time I was working in a restaurant when it first started, and I remember opening up Facebook that morning. I'm supposed to be at work later, and seeing this article about everything being shut, and then I sent it to my manager, and he's like, no, that's not true, that's just a gossip magazine. And then a couple hours later, yeah, it's true. Go to the restaurant, and they've got garbage bags filled with food for everyone because they don't want the food to go bad, and they're just giving it. They couldn't afford to pay us, so they just gave us bags of food, and it felt like wow, I just got a ration of food. Like, is everything about to end? It was so weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then going through it for months, we had a warm, like, spring came early that year, and I remember them saying, yeah, don't be outside, don't if you're outside you have to wear a mask. And very quickly my friends and I just got rid of all that, and we were outside playing basketball and soccer, no masks. And then I started to just uh, yeah, it's become less fearful of the whole thing. Then come June, the Prague, the Czech Republic opened. They celebrated opening. Get this, Colin. They built a like 200-foot table on Charles Bridge and invited everyone to come there for a meal, to sit together at this table to celebrate the end of COVID in the Czech Republic. And wouldn't you
Amazing.
know, but like 2 months later, we're going back into a lockdown, and everyone's laughing, saying like this is the reason why they planned a super spreading event. But man, so at the end of the summer, I was partying at the Drunken Monkey, and then like maybe 4 days later, I started to get this fucking debilitating headache. It was like a shock, an electric shock to my head that would pop up every 45 seconds to 1 minute all day long. And after a couple days, uh, I remember I was on the metro one day, and I started to just feel like I was gonna overheat, like burning up, sweating, and then I started to feel dizzy, like I was just gonna pass out, bro. Like I thought, like, this is it. I'm about to just fall over on the metro. I started to feel really heavy. I was slouching. I was able to hold it together. I got off, I think at Moose or something, and carried on my way. And I got tested later that day. Test comes back positive. Then I go into my quarantine, and the headache stayed. I started coughing up blood, especially in the morning.
Ooh,
I thought I was gonna die at this
Brucey.
point.
Yeah.
The blood came. Yeah, I was like, fuck, like this is it. I'm having these because they say it affects the lungs, and it can cause some hemorrhaging, and so that's what that was. But yeah, still we made it through, and afterwards I realized, okay, so that was really shitty for me. But I've been more sick uh,
Mm-hmm.
before. Actually, the sickest I've ever been was right after moving to Prague. But yeah, so started looking into more of the numbers on this, man, and like then I started reading about how so many deaths in 2020 were attributed to COVID, even though the cause of death might not have been. People die in a car accident, they have COVID, it's a COVID death.
Mm-hmm.
People, having other illnesses and they get this, and it's COVID death. Um, I just think that like there's always been flu-like viruses. This is a flu-like virus, very, very similar to the flu, that have throughout history killed people, and they a lot of times prey on sick and old people. So when someone sick gets sick when they're old or just dies, when they are sick, um, we wouldn't say, yeah, they died from the flu. If they had cancer and they died, we would say they died from cancer. But maybe they got the flu, and that's what led to them actually finally kicking the bucket. And the same thing is with COVID here. But we just flipped this thing into a pandemic. So now these deaths that have always happened this way, we can say it's COVID, and then we have a world pandemic. And man, I'm sick of it. I think it's
I've been sick of it since the start.
yeah, but it's not. But
Yeah.
like, obviously everyone's sick of it. But there's so many people out there that seem to think that like these lockdowns and restrictions is like the correct way for us to live our lives.
It's not a way to live a life. It is very limiting. It doesn't encourage any healthy social behavior or all other aspects of life, besides transmission of disease and virus, I think are all diminished, or a lot. The standard of it is decreased, right? Is there anything that this has been good for in
Um,
prioritizing the
if
virus?
what do you mean, like
So we're prioritizing not getting the virus, this thing that we're
right?
hyper observing more than ever. If we had done this in the past, it might have had a similar outcome. But can you think of anything that is going well by hyper observing a virus? I guess studies on how this particular one works, how people
I
act when they're
guess,
caged.
man. But there's people that are making money off this shit, and I don't know how it's not considered profiteering. How has Jeff Bezos made more money since the pandemic started than he had before the pandemic started? And think about how rich he was before this started. He was already like the richest guy in the world. He's made more money than he had before it.
Jeff Bezos is Amazon, yeah?
Yes,
Son of a bitch. I still
because
haven't
everyone's
bought
ordering
anything.
everything online. This man has just to the point where like they started showing Amazon warehouse work on Czech TV because the Czech Republic didn't have they just got Amazon warehouse like a couple of years ago, and because like all the stores were closed and people were so afraid to like leave their house, they started using online shopping and obviously Amazon a lot more, and it just blew the business up here. This is what I think, man. I don't know the overall agenda for all this, what the reason is. I don't believe that it's even if it is an accident. I do believe at this point that there is a agenda to deceive and for certain people to benefit in some way. I don't know if it's with money or what is the real, purpose behind it, but what I do know is fear is very, very powerful. It's a very powerful tool, and that is the reason why this has been so profound and taken so long. It's not the actual statistics of that would prove that this is dangerous. It's just the you put it on the news all the time. You talk about like there's a new thing to worry about, and people have just gone after it. What if, man? What if what if every year people got tested for the flu the way that we're doing this COVID testing? Think
Yeah.
about the world pandemic just for the flu. If you really wanted to go that route, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm bringing up. I think this is just like the past. And if we hyper observed this like we did in the past, it would be a very similar trend. When you think about it,
Yeah,
people
man.
are getting facts in front of them and pushed in front of them to really be able to see. I don't know. It's like imagining an amazing animal creature. Like this virus is another kind of animal. And the way it acts is it's like watching a documentary of how an animal behaves.
But I'll tell you one thing, man. this is one thing that I find to be fascinating.
But we're all in it. The
Uh,
documentary.
so how is it that like 80% of the people who are testing positive for COVID, that's a real number, 80% of them are symptom free?
Oof.
What kind of pandemic doesn't give you symptoms, man?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sorry, like, okay, so again, go back to the flu. Maybe if like if every year since we were able to test for things, if every year we tested for the flu, right? Maybe we would find that many people who test positive for the flu don't have symptoms. But we never did it, you know? There was never a flu test. So we don't know what those statistics would be like, but I do know that if they did do this, a fuck ton of people would test positive because everyone's getting sick every year. Uh, so then you fast forward to COVID, and again you've got this virus where 80% of the people who have it don't even know. And then like one of the most common symptoms is you lose your sense of taste and smell. That's like the worst that most people experience. Bro, let me ask you a question.
Did you have that?
No, I didn't, but I've
I
had it
did.
before. I had it before when I used to get sick as a kid. I couldn't taste or smell anything. I was really, really thin, and when I would get sick, I would always lose a lot of weight because I couldn't taste anything, and I didn't want to eat. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember asking my mom, like, "What's going on?" She's like, "Yeah, that's normal. When you get sick, you can't taste or smell." Fast forward to COVID, and it's like, "Oh, this is the thing." I'm like, "Wait, am I the only one that's had this since I was a kid?" So again,
Maybe.
it's just like you never had that. You never
I
lost your
never
sense
had
of
it.
taste.
No, not like maybe once or twice. Definitely losing appetite is a big thing for me, but I don't overly remember it as consciously as I do now. Maybe because I'm hyper aware of it because it's one of the symptoms and they talk about it. And I label myself as someone who had COVID-19. Then I'm going through the symptoms, and one of the
Mhm.
symptoms is losing smell or taste. So then I'm hyper aware about the situation. When you look at the list of symptoms, it is so high and so large. If you feel anything, go get tested for COVID because you
So
might have it.
so I was speaking with one girl recently, and she was telling me that she was or not recovering, but she was finishing her quarantine in a few days um, after testing positive. And whatever, like fast forward a few days later, she's out, she's living her life, and we were messaging again, and she said that she wasn't feeling well, so she was going to stay home, and that she was going to get tested the next day and let me know what the results were. And I texted her back and I said, "What are you doing? Do not get tested. If you don't feel well, just stay home." This is going to sound really stupid, and I know a lot of people are going to think I'm stupid for saying it, but for us in the Czech Republic right now, the cure for COVID is for everyone to stop getting tested if they can help it. If you feel sick, stay home. If you come in contact with someone who did test positive, stay home.
Mm-hmm.
Just just stay home, right? And then like you won't spread it, and the numbers won't go up.
One of the things that defeats that or makes it hard is sometimes people need a note from their doctor to not go to work, right? Where it's like, hey, if people are working, hey, why didn't you show up? And you got to prove that you have COVID. So you got to go to the doctor, you got to get it checked. And then it goes on to the government and the list of people, and it kind of adds to the issue. So if you
So
can, stay
exactly,
home.
you see that, but that's a flaw in the system.
Yeah.
It's a
But we're,
giant fucking flaw in the system.
the
Right now, I'm
government
not
doesn't
saying that,
feel it.
but I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that this system maybe shouldn't have been in place before. But if we're going to say that we're in the middle of a pandemic, stay home. For example, in order for me to go get tested, I had to expose the virus to a bunch of other people
Yeah, yeah.
on my way
Especially in
to the
your
testing
city.
center.
Yeah.
Huh?
Especially in your city. Yeah. Like out here,
Yeah,
you'd get in a vehicle and you would get to a place and you'd go in and
right.
the door
So
handle
for
would
me,
only be
I had
touched.
two choices: either I call a taxi, or I get on the metro bus or tram. Just
Yeah.
every breath spreading COVID to everyone. You know, it's crazy. With this situation, tell people, okay, like for real, let's get the fuck out of this. Let's get out of this situation. If you're sick, stay home. If you come in contact, stay home. We're gonna do an honor system, and of course, some people are gonna cheat, right? But if enough people agreed to do this properly, it would eliminate the pandemic in both ways. Because again, there'd be no positive test because no one would be getting tested, and anyone who was anyone who was sick or potentially sick would be quarantining. So you
You got the
actually wouldn't be.
solution, Bruce. That's it, man. It's sold. Start a Facebook group. Put it in the Facebook the Prague food community, or
Yeah.
what's the name of that group that you started?
Prague Food Society.
Yeah, Prague Food Society. Post it up in there. Get a few other collaborating groups. Get your I was just gonna say, get your stuff on Pornhub somehow. A lot
I'll
of
just
people
tell you though,
listen to
that girl,
that.
she didn't like this part of the conversation, so we've since stopped communicating.
Ooh, disagreements, eh?
I've actually, man, I've lost quite a few people. None of them like significant friends or members of my family or anything, but I've had several disagreements with people about this whole situation, and man, it's like the reaction I get is if people, like, if I say I'm racist or something, like people
Mm.
just the one girl, like, literally she was like saying that she doesn't want Philadelphia to open because her dad has a heart condition and she doesn't want him to die. So
Selfish,
so
slightly.
selfish, and I'm not saying that her dad should die, but there's another way where her dad doesn't have to die and everyone else gets to live their life. Dad is very careful, right? Doesn't leave the house much. uh, the government will then put money towards people in this situation if they lose work, for example. Make sure their medication, their food, cost of living, everything is covered. You know what the U.S. did with the stimulus checks? They've done well. We're getting our third like next week. But all of those trillions of dollars that they paid to people for stimulus money, instead that money could have gone towards just helping the people that need it and let
Mm.
everyone else get back to their lives.
Yeah, to their own decision as well. Like if someone
Right.
feels like it's not up to the major forces, it's up to every individual to be like, I feel safe enough to be out, and yeah, just letting everybody be free. And if you don't feel safe, stay in. And there's advice and there's
Right.
help. There's
And
money.
the thing is, people will cheat the system. There's going to be people that will say, "Oh, I can't go back to work because I don't feel safe, or I have this, I have that." There's going to be people that say that, and they don't qualify. But I think most people won't do that. And on top of that, even the people that do it, that cheat the system, I don't know how long it'll take, but eventually they're going to get sick of staying home and doing nothing. And they're going to want to like go back into a normal life. That's just, human nature. We don't want to, it's not like these people would be getting paid so much money that they're rich. No, it's basically right around what you were making when you were working. And you have to also be able to prove it, to prove, to be a medical history, or if you're caring for someone who has ailments, prove that you can't afford to attract COVID into your life for them. The other thing that really creeps me out about this whole thing, man, and maybe this is most important, there is no talks or discussions with the powerful powers that be about how to self-treat yourself, how to boost your immune system and keep yourself healthy and fit to
Mm-hmm.
like be able to be in a better position to not catch COVID in general or not have major symptoms. We're not talking, no one's talking about how to I guess just do it yourself and beat COVID.
Well,
And
there'd
on
be an
top of that, when you
argument from the powers that be saying their health community or the they have a budget usually in most governments going to some sort of health care system, and that healthcare system sometimes, makes pamphlets or small advertisements on whatever TV or something. But that would be mainly to the extent, as opposed to maybe a optimistic, positive leadership role from the powers that be, speaking about just like being healthy, as opposed to there's only one way to defeat this thing, which is do what is extremely uncomfortable for humans. Cage yourself in, don't see each other, wear a mask that makes it hard to breathe, which you need a breath of air every couple of seconds.
And all of these things, all of these restrictions have done what? How much and does any place have no COVID? The only place that says they're COVID free is China. Do we believe it? I mean, I hope you don't. I don't believe
Man,
a damn thing that they say.
I no, I don't believe anyone. Like, I don't know. I take what you say with a grain of salt. I just try to feel what I need to. And like that girl, she's got her own ways and she doesn't like your opinion on COVID, and you have your own and I have my own. And we're all in our different scenarios too. One lady who wants her dad to survive, she can't think any other way because she loves her dad.
I know, man, but again, I told you, like, it took
Think
out the
bigger.
oldest member of my family. This
Mm,
art, this the most extreme thing COVID can apparently do is kill you. It right? No one wants anyone to die, especially someone that is in their friend group or in their family. It's already happened to me. I already have that level of perspective about what can happen when someone catches this virus. I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't want the world to lock down for the sake of someone in my one person in my family being able to live out. And I know that sounds maybe a bit cold, but what I mean is my uncle's immune system was compromised. Uh, in 2020, he died, and they said it was COVID death. If there was no COVID, it would have been something else because his immune system was compromised. He wasn't healthy, and he was. I mean, it's normal when you get old that you can catch pneumonia or something like that, and you'll die from it. I had an uncle once die from pneumonia. He had cancer. He had some cancer like right behind his chest that he got from breathing in asbestos,
mm.
and he got very very sick. But his actual cause of death was not cancer; it was pneumonia. So I mean, this year, 2020's flu was called COVID, and 2020's flu called COVID is what killed my uncle. 2021's flu, if there was no COVID, would have been what got to him. Um, but yeah, man, it's this fear mongering thing that
Do you
is
think we'll
really.
do it again? Like, it could probably happen again, right? Like, we'll get free, we'll get over COVID, and then some other motherfucking flu. Like, the people who profit are going to try to probably do this again.
Yeah, but you know what, man?
I hope that doesn't happen.
This this current way of life that we have is is not going to last forever. We're not going to last forever.
Hmm.
It is without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, that there will be another mass extinction. It's inevitable, right? And doesn't have to mean that it's going to be caused by us by like polluting our oceans or anything like that. I mean, it has always happened. It's happened in human history. It's happened with you know early animal histories and plants where something just wipes out all life on the planet. And like maybe throughout our lifetime this would be like the only pandemic. Maybe it'll happen again in some generations down, but eventually there's going to be a clean slate. I think it's fascinating to think about what could possibly be next.
Mm. You got any ideas? High ideas?
Yeah, it's a good question because maybe there's some kind of trend. If you're able to like look at enough information and like data. I don't want to just say like early humans or dinosaurs. Like, you can look at throughout each period of those things, the changes that have taken place, and maybe there'd be some kind of like way to put together a graph or some algorithm to figure out what would be next.
Oh man,
You know what I mean?
CO2 in the atmosphere and whatever that does. That's a graph
Yeah.
that we can
Oh,
see. The
did you
projections.
did you do you know about Elon Musk's Neuralink?
Heard of it? Yep. I thought of it
Dude,
as well. I understand. You in?
I'm 100% out. Sign me up for the early trials. Yes,
Jesus.
yes. And I mean, I share this with people, and they're like, "You're crazy." My brother was like, I thought he lost respect for me when I said it. Like his reaction, like we didn't speak for like a month afterwards. Because man, like here's the thing. The main thing for me is eventually everyone's going to have it. So you can say, I can say, I want to be in the early trials, right? And I kind of mean that. I'm kind of joking. I'm not joking. I would do it. But there's people that, yeah, most people say they would never get it versus like, I would get it when there's a better version. But imagine, I look at it like this, man. Like there was a time when cell phones came out and there were people that kind of pushed them away, said I'll never have one, or even Facebook or Instagram. I'm not going that. No, no, no. And eventually, it just becomes so commonplace to have them that if you don't, you're kind of looked at as not being current or up to date. Just it's strange if you meet someone who just doesn't have a phone, for example. Am I right?
A little bit. Yep.
Yeah,
Valuable
yeah,
piece of technology.
right. And I mean, I'm not saying that that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying it seems to be a fact. And I think that this will be the same. Neuralink will be the same thing, bro.
What
Imagine
does it
this.
mean to you? Yeah, there you go. What does it mean to
Imagine this.
go on?
In let's just say 30 years, right? You and I have Neuralink, so that means we no longer have to speak to each other, right? With Neuralink, we can communicate without talking.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine someone comes into the room and you try to communicate with them and you're not getting anything, and then they start talking to you and you realize, oh my. And then I say, hey, Colin, like I'll telepathically say to you, like, this guy, like, he still has to talk.
Yeah, yeah. The people will be complaining people even talk anymore. This guy, like, he doesn't even, or they will be like, oh, people don't even know how to talk anymore. These kids these days, they don't know how to talk. Uh, I think it's probably just going to accelerate things, and because communication will be so much quicker and we'll be so much more connected to so many ideas, everything's just going to excel again. The norm that will be normal, and it might even we'll find another way to excel. People who live their other way will just continue to live their other way. I hope it doesn't jeopardize our environment where we need the food for us to eat to sustain. Maybe it'll just take over and we'll just fall into the CPU cloud and we'll just be communicating forever and be one entity, all knowing
It's
of.
kind of everything.
But
Because
isn't
yeah, I mean,
that
this is
psychedelics and
like,
DMT? But for the earth,
yeah,
as opposed to
yeah,
that'll be electricity. What if the electricity goes out? Then that whole intelligence
bro.
is gone. No one can read it.
But like, think about this: when Neuralink exists, do schools still exist? What's the
Hmm.
point of going to class if you can just know it? Oh, you want to know Spanish? You know it. You want to know everything about the history of whatever? You know it, just like that. You don't have to read. You don't have to pay attention. You just know it.
How do you monitor who gives the information? Maybe it's all
Well, it's just
pooled
it would be
together
like
of what
it
people
would.
think.
How do they monitor Google?
People, certain people, they make algorithms.
So that's
It's a
what it would
gong
be.
show.
It would be an algorithm thing. We'd
I
have the algorithm in our brains.
think that nothing is fully determined, or like his. all the ideas of history are still not what history is. Maybe we gotta forget about history prior to Neuralink, and then once Neuralink is on, all the history from there on is
Is what counts.
what is valuable. And here's the thought: so
Yeah.
if it's all instant, where's the perception of time anymore? I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying everything's instant, so one thing after another is all instant.
It's going to
How did
change. It's
it
going to
doesn't
change your perception of time.
you're gonna feel, I don't know. Sounds spooky. Sounds like a goddamn trip. That's what it sounds like.
He said on Joe Rogan's podcast that once Neuralink is fully up and running in people's brains, you will no longer be able to lie.
Hmm. What is lying? Lying is, yeah. Well,
Like
it's
you're
in between communicating, thinking about something, being scared, and changing what you say out of your flappy lips.
but the way he wants to design it, it wouldn't be possible for you to lie about something. So you're right. Then not like history and knowledge and everything we base our truths on would essentially start at the beginning of everyone getting this Neuralink device implanted into their head. And another thing, this is the more medical thing that's pretty cool about it, is that it's supposed to help people who are like paralyzed or blind or deaf to heal, to be able to use those parts of their body again. It's supposed to apparently improve athletic performance because your mind and your body parts are going to be more fine tuned. So you're going to be able to run faster and jump higher, and you'll be stronger. Um,
This
and
is
in fact,
just insane. It just sounds
yeah,
insane.
it's like science fiction. And then Joe asked him like, so what about like the fact that this is going to create somewhat of a class war? People are going to be able to afford it, and people are not going to be able to afford it. And the people that can't afford it are just what they're going to get left in the dust. You go for a job interview and they say, "Do you have the chip?" And if you don't, like, why are you here? You're not qualified.
Mm.
Um, and Elon's response was, people take loans out for all kinds of things, right? You take a loan out for Neuralink and it'll pay itself off in less than 2 years.
Yeah, it's no different than still finding a tribe of people in the Congo living in a different society, living in a different way. So some people might not want Neuralink and then just live where they can, if they can, somewhere else and in a different way, right? And the people who want Neuralink who get it
How?
be like,
How?
hey,
So,
get
so
Neuralink. You're like, no, I'll never get it, man. Oh, I don't know, some sort of communes. There's places everywhere in the world people
you
live
have to
that,
imagine this. Just because you don't have this computer chip in your brain, you have to go to a commune. You can't
yeah,
work.
that's it. That's it. Yeah. Well, that's the same as us now, right? It's either we join the way the world's working in Western society, or yeah, you better learn how to make your own food and live by yourself, or with a group of people who want to live the same way, which is commune living, community in another way. But the
I don't know, man.
Neuralink
Like I
fam's
said,
they're gonna be like thinking each other's thoughts. They won't even be talking. It's gonna be crazy. Be fun to watch.
I will gladly sign up for the first human trials.
Nice.
100%.
What's going
Yeah.
on with Mars? What about that for you? Neuralink and Mars? Maybe they'll all go to Mars. All the Neuralink
Yeah, I
people get
mean,
first access.
the thing about Mars, I don't know, man. Like, it seems like kind of a shitty place to live. Like when I just look at like how it looks, like I don't.
Yeah.
Even when I see the plans and everything, it just doesn't really seem. It feels like if I lived in the middle of like the desert in Utah, like that's Mars. And I love Utah. Like it's cool to visit for a couple days, but I do not want to live there. They've built towns in Utah that where there was just nothing, and it's cool. Like it looks like an oasis, but then all around it looks like Mars.
Yeah.
It's just not. And I don't know, man. It's not far away from the sun enough. It just like can't we come up with something better than Mars?
Well, Mars is the testing ground. Maybe it's hard, right? Just like growing up. So we're growing up we're going to shape a really difficult world first. And then maybe when we get to some other one, it'll be easier. Man,
I
but
just
we
want us to
can't even
figure out a
take
way
care
to
of our own.
bend the space-time continuum and just, hyperloop to another planet that's like Earth.
Ooh, I remember the podcast though. Elon Musk. I thought you were going to say this another way, but with Neuralink, you can just trigger an orgasm. And
Yeah.
Joe's like, it'll probably feel better than an orgasm, and Elon's like, yeah, it will. Like you can access all parts of yourself and release as many parts of yourself that you want. Oh, geez. Enter the hyperlink and just have orgasms forever. What? Here's a question. So, aside from the podcast and stuff, um, what do you want for your future? What it
I mean,
makes
I
you
I, I
excited? What keeps you going?
I want to I want to put together something in my life that will be will like if I were to evaluate myself after death, I would be able to look at what was done, what was built, and say, okay, like this means something. This is like a portion of time that like is carved out, and will forever have this legacy attached to it. And I mean, it's nice if people remember you by that legacy afterwards, but it's not really so important to me. I look at it, almost as if like after I die, if my soul, I want to be able to look back on what I've done and just be super super proud of it. And I think what that means for me is these various passion projects that I've come up with since I was a kid. I've always known I didn't want to have my own boss forever, and I have many different um, you know s- super interests, I'll call them, that
Mm-hmm.
I could actually with the amount of effort put into it um, monetize. So and just not letting these opportunities pass. I mean, maybe everyone's got these, but like I've already let two things slip through my fingers. Um, One of them being I remember in first couple years of college, smoking weed all the time with my buddies, and we loved eating Taco Bell. The Taco Bell was kind of far away from our apartment, so we never wanted to walk because we were lazy, and Taco Bell didn't deliver, and we just wouldn't have Taco Bell. And we started thinking, what if there was a company that would you could put an order in with them, and they would pick up from any restaurant in the city.
Yeah, great idea. Sounds like Uber.
we were like, we were like blowing out a puff of weed, like, nah, that could never work because if someone got sick, they would just sue us, and then it would just all go into shit,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd lose everything. We psyched ourselves out of it, and then yeah, a couple years later, you've got all these different companies doing this exact thing, empires. And then, man, beginning of the pandy last year, my friends and I didn't really like stop seeing each other that much. We were just doing house parties, and I remember uh, wanting to hear a song, and since my friend was connected with his phone to the Bluetooth speaker, I knew I could ask him. But that meant him having to give me his phone, give me the password, just really clunky. Like, or do I take over the speaker? And I was just like, there needs to be an application which will allow anyone that's in a room, for example, to connect to someone's phone, and that will then play the music that everyone wants. They put it in a live queue.
Totally.
Uh, and I've heard about a couple different things that were doing like applications that were doing similar types of things, but it wasn't seamless like this idea that I had. And then wouldn't you know, like on Thanksgiving last year, my friend opens up his phone, and I explain this idea, and he shows me Spotify Rooms.
Yeah.
You know Spotify Rooms,
No, I don't. Haven't used it yet, but I'm sure it works maybe as good as you're talking about. How does it go?
bro. So yeah. So you have to pay for the service, the premium service for Spotify. But basically, how it works is you click on like this little button on the left side of the screen. You click on it, and it'll open up the song and a little bit more information about it. And then you click again in the bottom left, and then you have two options. It says scan to join or open a room. That means, so scan to join. If someone has a room open, you press the scan to join. A barcode appears on their phone, and you scan it with your phone within the Spotify app, and then your phones are connected. So then I can literally just put songs into the queue, which will queue up in your phone onto the Bluetooth speaker. And so,
Love the
in fact,
idea.
you can be in a party with however many people, and it'll just seamlessly play whatever music people want, one by one by one. You don't have to ask to borrow anyone's phone anymore. You don't have to disconnect from the speaker.
So I had an idea.
Mhm.
Mine was something like maybe it was just going to be called Boombox, but I've been in so many moments where I want to play a song and all I have is the speakers on the phone. And people do want to show me a song, but all they have is the speakers on the phone. And that's all we have. But collectively, we have 5 phones and some sort of device or application that you open Boombox. Boombox reads the people within the Bluetooth area that are also on Boombox. You can join your profile. You start a profile, or you can see who's around who has one going. Whoever you join, all sound that they play goes through your phone. And if your phone's connected to a car stereo, whatever. But if there's 5 phones in an area, you can all connect through Bluetooth on the Boombox app under Colin Gluck. Let's all join Colin Gluck right now. Sure, you click, and I maybe have to accept everybody, or probably for safety reasons, audio safety reasons, let everybody join and all of our phones play. So if all you have is 5 phones, you could just have all your phones bumping in different parts of the room. You could stack them all on one spot, put them all in a
Yeah.
circle. I think it would be really fun. And you can hook up anything you want
Yeah.
to after. Like you can listen to it in headphones as other people. It could be like a silent disco thing as well. I've always
Yeah,
thought of
man.
that. Very similar
That
idea.
could work.
I
That could
think
work.
it's level up from the Spotify thing because you don't need Spotify. And you, well, the communication aspect is still in it. So if me and you are playing jams, we're just both on Boombox. You're showing me one. Then I say, yo, Bruce, let me show you one. And I just start queuing up, and you go on your Boombox and you hit my profile. And then suddenly my profile is playing both on both our phones. Someone do
But
this.
what if you wanted to like play
Someone
through
make
the
this.
speakers? Because what if you wanted like real bass from a speaker?
Yep, if you wanted real bass. So one of the phones would be hooked up to the speaker, or someone else could join the speaker. But yeah, you're hooked up to the speaker and you just play, but you are on Boombox playing. And other
You mean
people in the
hooked up
room,
through Bluetooth?
yeah, Boombox, I'm assuming Boombox is my app name that I just making up right now. But through Bluetooth, you would see that I'm hosting uh or yeah, I'm open on Boombox. So if you hit, well, I it wouldn't matter. I would just play through the speaker. Yeah, but it doesn't do the queuing feature at this point. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
I
And the
hear what
other
you're saying.
thing is, if you're connected to the phones, if all the phones are connected via Bluetooth, I don't think the phone can then connect to a speaker via Bluetooth. You know what I mean? I think
Yep.
like you can only connect to one thing at a time on Bluetooth.
Be some technical difficulties that we'd have to work
Yeah.
through.
This is something I thought about as well because originally I was trying to think of, I had a different uh way of trying to make this work, which is that potentially there would be a speaker that would be like it would be essentially an extension of the app, and that instead of us all connecting to one phone, which is then connected to a speaker, we're all connected to the speaker.
Mm-hmm. So you can Bluetooth, like I have a phone here, sorry, a speaker here that connects to more than one device. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but it wouldn't queue up.
No, yeah, we want that
Right.
queue feature. So
So
you can
this
just
is
be
the software
chilling.
that had to be built into the thing. And I was thinking, because originally I wanted to find a way to develop this without it having to be like a plugin on Spotify or something, or Apple Music. So I was trying to think of ways to like to have a subscription thing. And I did it in a couple ways. So first, let's say you paid for a more advanced version of the software. You had like bonus features. You could your music would rank higher on the queue. But another thing that would make your music rank higher is the more followers you had, like to your profile,
How do you get
which would encourage
followers?
it, and that encourage. Hey, um, you guys don't have this app? Like, it's awesome. You explain it to people. You get more followers by explaining it to them, getting them to sign up, and thus get more, more features. Um, Another thing that I wanted to build into it is to be able to build filters so that, for example, let's say you're at a party where everyone likes rap or trap or house, whatever. You could make it so that people can't switch it over to country or, something from Britney Spears.
Mm, interesting. Oh, it'd have to be
And I
such a
wanted,
smart AI.
yeah, and I was thinking about a way to like build it into, for just with this feature specifically, to potentially have the option to sell this to nightclubs, for example. And you're going to hate me for this, but my thought was that, for example, let's say a place like Radost, where it's hip hop and R&B like every Thursday or whatever, right? And the people who come there to drink and dance are the ones controlling the playlist,
Hmm.
not the DJ. Or maybe there would be a DJ, but he has to deal or use the songs that are coming up. And to take it a little step further, you could build an algorithm into the software that would not allow for the same song to play more than once within, let's say, whatever set amount of time you prefer. 30 minutes, 1 hour. You can't have the same song play twice. So it would be rather intelligent. I actually started to work with a couple of guys who are coders. I have two friends that write code. That's their job every day. And we built a prototype for this. And I had planned on beta testing it at the Drunken Monkey on my birthday. Um, and then yeah, we went into like another lockdown. But um, later on, man, the guys were just like, Bruce, like, we don't want to do this. Like, it's too much to write. It's too much code. It's too much work.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was, but this is a life changer. This would have changed their fucking lives.
So what you talked
You
about
know?
at Rados, man, that sounds like the job of a DJ already. So the DJ knows like he's an R&B, he's on the R&B theme and hip hop, and he knows what's best for the general group, because sometimes people in the group just are really selfish or really close-minded, or there's a group of three girls that are like, yeah, we'll select a song, and by the time that goes through the algorithm, the general populace of the people don't like it. And to be a good DJ is when you are the best of that AI machine already, and you're like, the group of people here, we know, like, potentially if you just have an auto writing script on a DJ, you're going to find all this information out already. It would then evaluate like what the difference is between the song that played before and this song, and how often he ever plays the songs over and over, if he does.
Colin, I'm going to give you all the credit in the world for being a good DJ, but I'm also going to say I've gone to nightclubs and heard shitty DJs that play old music, too commercial music. They play the same song twice in 30 minutes. So I'm sorry, but like, I know this shit
Mm-hmm.
can be improved. And I'm not saying that this idea would definitely improve things, but it would be an interesting experiment. Um, and again, like, the software would be intelligent enough to, uh, I think, potentially enhance the experience of the people that were there. And I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can do this. I mean, you could even say, um, you could have an actual person, maybe it's the events manager or something like that, compile whatever music is popping, like the songs that maybe people are going to be looking for, and have it there, and people are able to like go into this list and they can queue up all types of music. And it could be based on like popular artists, the theme of the nightclub, how old the song is, all these kinds of parameters to potentially enhance the experience of people. And again, if you wanted to like be foolproof, you could also then have a person up there DJing. They can see all the music that people are putting in, and okay, like this is the people have spoken. This is what they want. I'll give it to them, but I'm gonna fade songs in and out. I'm gonna make sure things don't play too often. I think it would, at the very least, be an interesting experiment to have some
Would be.
kind of
It'd be
nightclub.
cool if people pick tracks.
Mm.
Yeah, but then that's on the fly, and it's the help of an AI plus a human's there, and then I would see the list
I'm not.
coming in,
I,
and it would switch
a human
orders.
doesn't have to be involved. A human. I just threw that
Come
in there
on,
now. But the way that I originally thought, I mean, even bro, you could write an algorithm that could literally like fade music in and out and like
Spotify does it.
blend. But okay, but even further, like how like when you're mixing something and you have a song and then you fade into another song and then a few minutes in you bring that first song back around, and like you can have the algorithm do all these things. I'm 100% sure. Again, this is why I said you're gonna hate me for saying this, but we're automating everything. If we're gonna have cars that can drive you to wherever, surely they can also make like software to DJ stuff.
Okay, put a pin in that. I gotta go to the bathroom, and I might grab another beer. Sorry. Didn't like that conversation anyway. Talking about getting rid of DJs. Just kidding. I think that there's bad algorithms and good algorithms as well, and there's good DJs and bad DJs. And as long as you could make the algorithm good, but it seems like those guys had a handful of work to do, and Spotify's got the money. Spotify or
So that's the thing. Like even talking to my guys who are writing the code, they were telling me like you're gonna be better off trying to sell this as a plugin, for example, with Spotify or Apple Music. It is a sure thing. One of them would probably want to buy it, so you'd have to patent the particular algorithm that you're going to use. But there's a lot, even more than the writing the code. Writing the code, from what I understood, wasn't even difficult. It was just time consuming.
Were you paying those guys?
We never even really got that far, because my original thought was like, okay, I've got this idea. I'll learn to write code with you guys to like make this process to help out however I can. But the point was, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to pay you now, and then when the finished product comes out, you don't own it? This is a home run. Write this. If I were them, I would say, oh God, this guy just came up with a home run idea, and he's going to allow me to be in equal shares of the company for something that is a slam dunk. And like I said, even with that, like I was actually actively at the time trying to learn to write code.
Yeah, you've never done that before, but you've done a lot of work where you helped people through computer situations. Or
yeah, I was more on the more on the hardware side of it. The software experience I had was with SAP, but it was very specific to SAP, so it wasn't the general knowledge that I would have needed to know about this. But I did take a half a year of a coding course when I was in 7th grade. I don't remember any of it, and computers were a lot different back then. I mean, the basics, or the exit or ones and zeros are the same, I guess, but
I think the systems
the thing though
that
that
shape them are different.
Yeah, the thing I realized would have actually been more difficult, because I started reading about how Spotify became what they are. And one of the most expensive and time-consuming aspects for them building their business was actually getting the licenses for the music, which actually
Initially,
requires you. What's that?
Oh yeah, because they had the best music up there when I was on there. They'd been around for years, but exclusive stuff and people that are less popular, like me and people from the west coast of Canada or smaller scale DJs, weren't on there at all because they wanted the most popular stuff because that's what people would listen to and buy a subscription to. So they'd have to go looking into getting Led Zeppelin or any of the more recent pop stars that would have been, well, I'm not sure where they'd even release their music before Spotify, like YouTube and MP CDs.
Well, yeah, it was CDs. I mean,
Napster.
that was my, yeah. But yeah, so like I mean, as far as I understand, there's no Zoom calls for that. There's no phone calls. You are going to record labels and having face-to-face meetings with, CEOs. You're flying around the globe to get these people signed up, at least in the beginning. Once you're, after a while, Spotify now, they don't have to do that. Everyone knows who they are. Everyone
We
wants
go
to
to
be on
them.
Spotify.
We go to them. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. But in the beginning, this was, what they had to do. So that I think would have been more difficult than even the coding.
You mean afterwards going to the company with your business idea of having the playlist? What's your what's your made up business idea name? What's the app name made up?
Well, okay, so
Gangsta
unfortunately,
List. Gang
I,
List.
I, I never came up with a name for it because the name I wanted to use was already taken, which is House Party.
Ooh, yeah.
You
That's
know
a
the House Party
popular
app?
that's a popular video app now. Yeah. I
Yeah.
hear people
uh,
talking about it in other podcasts, but
Austin
have
and
you,
Hubert using it for a while. Wow, it was so weird. We'd be sitting there like talking, partying, whatever, and one of their phones just light up. Hubert, like, imagine like it's just no chill, no privacy. Like
ooh,
anyone can just access your phone and like pop in and check on you whenever they want.
what is the idea? So it would be like a call like this, but people can just show up.
Think of it like a text message via video call. Text messages just pop up in your phone. You see it right there. That's what this would have been. It wouldn't have been like, oh, someone's calling you, except they're just there and they're speaking to you. And let's say me and you were in a house party session. Anybody up, one of my friends can just pop in. Hey guys,
Yeah.
whether they know you or not.
Sounds like
Yeah.
a big open group chat with no boundaries, no
Have you ever
mediators.
heard of this app called Chat Roulette?
TikTok. Yeah. Yeah, that's been
Oh
around for
my
a long time. Have you
God.
when did you hear about it?
Oh, I heard about it on a Rogan podcast, or not? Oh, no, on another podcast I listened to called Fighter and the Kid, and then one called King and the Sting. It's run by the same guy, but
Yep.
man, like, there's one girl over there on the show who like she did it on the show, and like every other video was a guy jerking off.
Yeah. That's it. If you want to watch guys jerking off, like a lot of them are on chat roulette. I remember going in there and really hoping for a good time, maybe meeting a stranger or I think I used to use it to mix music in front of people. So I would be mixing music on one side of it and be on chat roulette. But it started getting depressing or just nasty because every second person's jerking off. And I'm like,
Yeah.
trying to do a mix here. I'm trying to have a good like meditational music session with myself and then really getting disturbed by
Have
all
you
these penises. Not
have you
very
jumped
into
onto
them.
OnlyFans yet?
No. Are these things you use? I guess you haven't tried chat roulette yourself.
No, I've never used OnlyFans either, but people are monetizing OnlyFans in different ways. It was, I guess, in the beginning mostly like sexual stuff, but now um, you can get by doing non-sexual things. The one girl on the podcast who did the chat roulette, she now has people pay for OnlyFans photos of her feet.
Right on. So you got to become a fan, and becoming a fan probably costs money, and then you
Right.
sell things to your fans.
You see the content, yeah. So you
I gotta
even
do
just
that.
like
I should do
yeah,
that.
you can OnlyFans either music or like breathing exercises. And bro, you either make money or you don't. But it's no skin off your back if you don't. It's not like you have to make some giant investment into this. You put the product out there and they buy it or they don't.
Like the sounds of it. Do you do any breathing exercises?
I mean, I just breathe, man. I just breathe
Yeah,
every day.
that's what
I
people
realized
say.
though that um, uh, maybe 6, 7 years ago, I was dealing with a lot of stress and having a lot of trouble sleeping. And without even like looking into it, I realized that what would center me and calm me down was focusing on my breathing. And while I wasn't following any like traditional practices or methods, I was focusing on my breathing. I was breathing harder. I guess it's not a really good word because it's a free movement, but I was feeling my breath. I was uh,
The rate was faster and deeper than usual, but you were tuned into it and feeling it.
yeah, and it just centered me. And
Mm.
now I have done a bit more research into it and different methods that more famous people use. Uh, and I realized that, yeah, without even realizing it, I was actually giving myself a breathing exercise. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, it's in you. Did your mom give you that advice?
No one. It was just the only thing I could do to calm me down, man. This is why when you asked about exercise, like during the same time, I found myself going to the gym 5, 6 days a week with my brother, thinking that it would help somehow, and it never did. I was getting swole, but I didn't feel better. It didn't make me feel better. Yeah.
I hear you. So that got me thinking about a situation. I was in bed with someone, and I don't know where it came out from, but said a dead baby joke. You ever heard dead baby jokes? They're about dead babies, and they're so bad that they're hilarious. But it was just to a person who is 14. It's hilarious. But there I was. I just met this person after an evening. It was during Maddie's visit to Prague when he turned 30. And how did it all how did it all end? The situation with the dead baby joke, she had witnessed a baby die in a similar way to the joke and started having a panic
Oh,
attack. I never thought this would ever happen in my life. I didn't think these things could even exist. They were so gruesome, and she had seen this happen. And
tell the joke. We all tell the listeners the joke.
um uh what's worse than a baby nailed to a tree? One baby nailed to 10 trees.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Brutal. Just how, yeah,
Did
this
she
is
work in
the,
law enforcement or like what?
no, it was traveling. It was traveling in Cambodia or something, and she had witnessed a baby being uh, nailed to a tree, and that is so gruesome, and it makes my heart sink just talking about it. Did not see that coming. Don't know where it, like, I don't want to say dead baby jokes anymore. They're pretty offensive. And I didn't even know I would repeat it today. But so she starts freaking out and weeping. And I'm not often in that scenario. I'm not that bad in bed. But instinctively, I started taking the longest breaths I've ever taken in my life to like maybe calm myself down, or so long, deep, and like obvious that it de-escalated the situation almost immediately. It might have been
Mhm.
10 breaths over the course of a minute and a half. They were such long breaths. And it was instinctual, and it completely soothed the situation so we could then talk, because I didn't even know that was what was going on until she told me. And then there was apologies, and things were cool. I've never been able to
Yeah.
breathe that deep and long ever since. But yeah, you're welcome. Go ahead and use that joke anytime you like. No, I know your style.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's quite a useful tool, and it's something that takes pretty much no effort. This type of meditation. I found myself throughout 2020 doing this quite a lot while I dealt with all kinds of adversity. Just you know taking it day by day and breathing.
Mm. Bringing you back to the moment, not thinking about the past and not getting caught up in how the future is going to unfold, absorbing the breath in the moment. It's the gate between conscious and your unconscious body. Through it you can slow your heart rate, you can control the subconscious. The subconscious runs breathing instinctually and beats the heart, and if you bring it to a conscious level, your breathing, you can fall into what, first off, you're controlling an unconscious reaction in your body, the breathing itself, but you can focus on another unconscious part of yourself, which is your heart, and slow that down. This is how the monks do it. This is how people lower their metabolism or lower their all around heart rate to stay in breath holds longer, or even stay calm in wild situations. I swam under ice 2 days ago. First time ever. This, when I thought of telling you this, I remember the swimming across the river that
Yeah,
flows
man.
the Vltava and your near
Yeah.
death experience. I did not know it was a near death experience for you until you
I was
told me the
sure it was
story.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you want to go ahead and tell people that story?
Yeah, so we were going to our secret swimming hole, which is on the other side of the river where most of us live. There's a ferry that takes people across the river. However, we had too many people. So um, Colin, myself, and Marie were stuck on the other side. We were originally thinking about waiting until the ferry come back, but it would have taken about an hour. So we made the decision to jump in the river and swim across. Now, this was the balls of summer, the hottest in Czech recorded history at the time, which is why we were going to the swimming hole. And when we first got in that water, it felt warm. However, about halfway through, the water for me got so cold that I realized I couldn't go any further. And at that point, I started to cramp up. And I'm in the middle of this river. The bottom of the river is nowhere in sight. And
Yeah.
I just thought, this is it. I'm going to drown. I cannot swim back. No one is around me. Um,
How did
but
you how
actually,
did you pull through in that mindset? So you're not dead stop motion. You're pushing through as your muscles are cramping to keep yourself afloat.
breathing. And when I think about it, really, because you know how it is when you get really cold and in really cold water, the whole thing is breathing. And I remember I flipped over onto my back, so I'm backpedaling at this point, and I'm I guess more or less trying to float while I wait for my muscles to stop cramping, and I'm breathing and pulling myself back into some warmer waters. And finally, I was able to feel comfortable enough to turn over into my stomach and go back. But this guy Colin jumped in that river and swam across.
Made it look
Didn't
so
break
easy.
stride. Didn't break stride.
You can't break a
Yeah.
stride when the water's that cold in the middle. You got to keep going. You're like, oh, I don't want to stay here, but if I go back, this whole thing is over. So I got to keep going forward.
And I mean, for anyone who's never seen the Vltava, it's not the cleanest river either. We had no business swimming in that water.
No, no, and
There's dead fish floating everywhere. Yeah, it's
it's
ill-advised.
the later part of a river that floats through a city, which God knows where they put uh, maybe chemicals or our human waste or just litter. And
Ev- All those boats as well. The boats that are going up and down the Vltava. That's apparently a big part of the reason why it's polluted. It's a bit more clear now. Now that because you don't have those boats moving anymore, so the water's clearing up.
that's what I like to hear. Oh God, the Prague land, it makes me feel good. There's something deep rooted in me that just loves the beer, and any Pilsner I have around here is brewed from like the first Pilsner over there, and Pilsen, Czech Republic. One of the reasons why I moved there, just drinking beer drinking culture. You're drinking a beer, no doubt. Ladies drink beer. I mean, they drink
Well,
whatever
the
they want.
alcohol consumption has skyrocketed since the pandy.
My alcohol consumption is about average. from, from Prague
Yeah.
to here, it would be the same because
Well,
I was
I look
having
at it like
liters of
this, man.
beer.
I look at it like this. Like, let's say you're someone who likes cocktails, right? So you might go to a bar and let's say you have 4 cocktails in a night. That's about normal, right? Um, that would be like around a quarter of a bottle of vodka or even less. Let's just say it's about a shot per cocktail, or maybe even if it's 2. But now people are buying the whole bottle for their house. They're making them as strong as they want. They're paying the same price as they would for 1 cocktail for the whole bottle of vodka. And they're just drinking more. There's just like it's
Yeah.
it's it's fucking bananas, man.
Have you noticed that with the few friends you have, or even just people around your life? How
Not
are
so
you?
much.
What about you?
Um, you know what, man? I wouldn't say I drink more or less. I drink differently. So before there was more of a consistency, or I shouldn't say consistency, a pattern to it. Almost all my drinking was done at night at a bar or club, either at the Drunken Monkey or one of the places we go to.
Mm-hmm.
People weren't really having house parties or anything like that. So it would normally be weekends, and this would be the case. Now, yeah, like sometimes there'll be a house party on the weekends, or occasionally you go to a friend's house on a Tuesday and there's a turn up happening. Or, there's been a couple times where I go bring a bottle of whiskey home myself. And, I just sit on the couch, I put some ice in my glass and sip away. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How's
Which
the
I never,
whiskey?
yeah, but I never used to do this before. So I would just say, yeah, my drinking is just different now. I wouldn't say it's more or less. Just the pattern was broken.
Yeah. How is the whiskey in Prague? What do you like? Are you getting Scotch?
I'm drinking, sorry, bourbon. I'm drinking Jack Daniels.
I, there'd be something. I would drink some local Czech stuff, like not Borovichka. I don't know if like Slivovitz is a thing. I can't remember. I love Bekarovka. That's like a medicine of herbs and
Yeah.
crispness and made from waters that heal kings, they believed, in this spa city where the water comes from the earth so pure that the kings would bathe in it to uh, have greater health or be cured of sickness, is the theory. And they use that
They call
water
it
in
the fountain of
Bekarovka.
youth. Yeah,
True.
it comes from Karlovy Vary, Carlsbad. Um, and yeah, they say the water makes you younger.
Oh my God. And then I'm sipping it and I feel the first thing I said when I felt like a flu in Czech Republic. I had a date and I went to go meet her and I just didn't feel that good at all. And I really wanted to leave, but I do push myself into some uncomfortable situations. And I was just, first thing she said, "How are you?" The first thing I have to say is, "I feel pretty bad. I might end up going." She's like, "You want a shot?" Because the Czechs, the shots are like medicine. So I laughed at her, but she's like, "No, no, no." Like something like Bekarovka, or there's another herbal shot that exists there. Maybe it was Jägermeister, but they believe in such things to be relieving of the pain you experience. Therefore, like the mind can be more at ease and you can worry less about what you're going through, as well as healing powers of the water or the herbs. I did
Yeah,
enjoy
man.
them. I felt great that evening from a from a few shots at the bar. Felt better, felt the love, hung around someone I liked. It kept me going longer in a situation that I wanted to be in. Not like COVID, keeping us inside in situations that we don't want to be in, making ourselves unhealthy.
Yeah, I mean, um, the, were you working for Monkey at this time?
No, this was,
Okay.
I might have left your house actually. I might have been
Okay.
sick at your house, or yeah, I didn't really stay anywhere else. I stayed with Will for a little bit, but
Speaking of which, my guy's engaged. Our guy's engaged.
I know, yo, I didn't tell you. I was on the phone with him yesterday, him and Tom, and I really like those guys. And what they're saying about the south of Brazil is that whole place. The first thing they'll ask you is that, well, what is your star sign? And have you noticed anything beautiful about today? Is the way they speak. They start their conversations. Apparently, it's the chillest, safest place they've ever been to, and they absolutely love it. And then, yeah, Buddy meets a girl in a week, says her soulmate. Her,
What
both of them
and and
say
and
the same thing.
and the craziest thing, the most beautiful thing, is
What'd
that
you
they
hear?
don't speak the same language. They can't speak to each other in their
Hmm.
language.
At the start of it, they were using a little bit of Google Translate.
Yeah.
They, I don't know what to think. I want to get him on the show as well, because does this guy has this guy always been chasing like what true love is, or does it exist? Does it exist? Because if it does, and in this story goes completely well, then it totally does. Some sort of love at first sight and true love, because the way he expresses it, it was near instant, and the earth itself has persuaded both of them to unite, which sounds too good to be true. Sounds easy.
Uh, the Will I know, absolutely not. He couldn't care less about like trying to find this kind of thing. He was all about just enjoying his life in the moment, and he didn't really care about necessarily having a soulmate or getting that close to someone. Maybe that was a front. I mean, I don't know, but either way, he never spoke about really liking someone, let alone loving them. And
Hmm.
now he's engaged to this. I think he got her some land, which apparently was her childhood dream.
Oh God.
So
How did you
yeah,
hear? Have you talked to him, or did you hear through the grapevine?
yeah. Hubert's in touch with him like every couple days.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hubert and Will and the whole scene. It's another world, and I can't ex- express this enough to anyone who's stuck in a rut. Like, go somewhere and try living in a new world, and you may like it even more than your own world, and stay like Bruce has, or Will and Tom, who seem to be moving to Brazil within a couple months of being there. And you got me thinking, because I've been waking in, or staying awake in my bed at night with a little bit of a mind that keeps working, and I just think about the Canadian dollar and how it's going down, and it's not good to have Canadian dollars chilling in a bank, and wanting to invest that money in myself in some sort of way, aka another music tool, speakers, uh, really productive, a new microphone. Instead of just having Canadian dollars that are just sitting there diminishing in value, or getting some land, which is something that I'll need to pay for the rest of my life in this society. And if I went to Prague and picked up a chunk of real estate in that city, I freaking love that place. Be so
Yeah, but
cool.
it's different here because in Prague, you're talking with real estate means an apartment, not land.
Yeah,
In Prague, you could
yeah,
get land in the Czech Republic, but in Prague, there's certain parts of Prague that have land, sure,
yeah. I
but
guess
there's
I
not
don't
that many.
mean land. I mean just not having the Canadian dollar. And
Mhm.
if I had a place to crash there, oh, it'd probably be trouble. I just love the beer so much.
Have you thought about doing any crypto?
Yep, that's I got a few thousand in Bitcoin when it was at 12, and it's at 71.
Nice.
Yeah, and I actually really like the ethical qualities of Ethereum more than Bitcoin. If one was to prevail over another, I think Ethereum should. Bitcoin is ecologically, I'm sorry, not as friendly. So in general, they're the same principle. They are highly encrypted currencies that nobody owns, but one of them is more environmentally friendly. The last year, I think it's gone up 700%. So that is, it's no down, like it's great. Or if that's not even what it's about, the value of that is going up because it is valuable because no one owns it. It's a place you can put funds that no one can touch and you can translate into many different places in the world. um, and everybody kind of agrees right now, or they see it as a good spot to put things, so that's why the value of it is going up, or
Yeah, that's
Canadian dollars going down.
right.
One or the other.
But that's the crazy thing that to me that like is a little bit spooky about cryptocurrency is that it only exists. Well, it's for similar reasons that all currencies exist, tangible currencies, that we decide that it has value. That's why it has value because we've chosen it to be valuable, not because it actually is. When we were like on a gold standard, they say that part of the reason why gold was valuable is because of, for example, its use in medicine. There's a lot of uses um, in computer construction. Um, so it's part of the reason why it actually had a value like that meant something. Um, but I mean, for example, if everyone just said right now, today, we don't care about cryptocurrency anymore, then it wouldn't exist.
Totally. That's why it's kind of scary, but it's insane how many people are jumping on board.
Yeah.
And I love the
And
idea
literally,
of it. I love the idea of
yeah.
it. Why does it have to fail? Someone can tell us, and someone can tell us the ups and downs, and like maybe they can instinctively think or already know where it's going to cause massive issues within our society. Not for the rich, I don't give a shit about them, or like the people who are losing their dollars because they didn't invest in it soon enough, or uh, why is there an argument towards no one owning your money? It would be just great if it could exist in the physical, and it does, and it's the best way to store it. When you store the memory, the encryption inside of a memory disk away
Mhm.
from any powered electronic. I'm not sure if an EMP can destroy that. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, EMP would render every single electronic useless. Anything that
Nice.
has essentially, yeah, that runs on electricity.
Yeah, even if it's not plugged in. Is that how that works?
Yeah, it wouldn't matter.
What a great, scary idea. An EMP,
No, it's
electromagnetic pulse.
that is coming.
The EMP bomb? What?
No, like these electromagnetic pulses leave the sun every, I don't know, I'm not even going to throw a number out there, but they have constantly happened throughout history. It's 100% going to happen to us. And unless we've come up with some other type of technology by then, it's going to render all of our electronics useless. I've heard some number that it would take about 7 years to get the whole world back online again, so to speak. Think about what would change in 7 years if there was no electricity.
Dude, in one day, in 1 minute. Okay. Everything, all these lights. We're just disconnected. All of our money. Do you have any cash? I have 50 Canadian dollars.
No, it
Dude,
wouldn't matter. Money
my
wouldn't matter anymore.
my credit card, like no one has any more than anybody else. And yeah,
Yeah.
you're the only person I shared an address with. Like when the COVID went down, it was so funny. I don't know. Instinctively, I don't know who shared the address first, but I just felt like I wanted to know where you were going to be at. Because if, I don't know, the local best friends that I have, if shit went down and I needed someone else, I know I could trust you. And I would just go on the mission to, like, if it was all lost, I heard you would go north, but I would be like, I just go on a mish over to your place and see if I could find any clues to as where your family went to then try to find y'all, because I don't know what
But
else would be going on. It'd be just
the key
carnage.
is the key is I gave you my address. Did you write it down or did you have it in your computer or your phone?
I think I wrote it down, but it's kind of, I've lost touch with that thought.
Because yeah, I mean,
Have a
if
journal.
it was just in the message on Facebook, your phone wouldn't work and you wouldn't be able to.
Absolutely.
Well, no, that's only in the EMP situation. But yeah, man, something like that would be fascinating to me because unfortunately, like one of the first things that would happen is like sick people will die. A lot of old people, anyone who relies on modern technology to stay alive would be dead within days.
Yep.
So a very large population of the planet would die off,
Very sad.
and then
Very confusing.
that would be a totally different thing because then you'd have all these dead people. What do you do with the bodies?
Very.
Let's say, but how? Because bro, right now
Shovel.
you use these. Have you ever
Eat.
seen how?
Maybe we
Have
eat
you
them.
seen how graves are dug right now?
Nope.
They use like one of those like those big cat machines, like a bulldozer essentially. And they
Totally.
go in and they scoop the earth out. That wouldn't work anymore. So imagine
Yep.
in 3 days you have millions and millions of dead people all over the planet. What do you do with the bodies? You can't the places that they use to like keep bodies cool. Like the what do they call them?
Walt Disney.
Um,
He's
what are they?
cryogenically frozen.
Yeah, but like where they store the bodies until they get the blood drained and all that. Those places wouldn't work because you can't.
Autopsy.
Yeah,
Mm.
mortarium. I don't know the word,
Yeah,
but the
yeah.
point is, you wouldn't be able to keep dead bodies cold anymore. You wouldn't be able to drain their blood out and pump the formaldehyde in them to preserve them. You just have rotting, stinking bodies everywhere, all over. Think about a hospital, what that place would be like. Good Lord.
You'd move them. You'd move them. You'd get them in a room at least, man. Someone would, and if not, you'd leave. I'd leave. I'm probably not hanging around dead bodies. I'm probably leaving somewhere and planning some
Where are you
shit.
going?
Okay, from here? Fuck. Great question. God damn, I need, like, it's really harsh in the winter in Canada, and having like a bunch of piss ass people fucking annoying you and taking your stuff or thinking that they're going to be friends with you and
Do you have
fights.
any firearms?
Yes.
Okay.
Only one.
It's important in this situation.
Yeah, they start being very valuable. They're very powerful. Let alone for the goddamn pests of humans, probably. If they become pests, like, God love us all. I love you. I love y'all. And we're in a great space. Holy shit. But not only that, like, bears, they're fair game with the humans now. What do we got more than them if we don't have a mechanical, chemical firearm? We don't have electronic devices where like gas is probably pumped electronically to power our vehicles. Like, you can stay in a vehicle, it'll just break the glass if you're sleeping in it for long enough. Why not? God damn.
The good thing is, I feel like I would get a bit of a head start on my mission north. Maybe I shouldn't tell people this, but um, my mission north.
Would you grab a lady? Like, who? I've
No,
never been
in
able
fact,
to be with a lady traveling. They're not
so
following.
my mentality on companionship in this situation is, if I have somebody, if this happened and I was in my apartment with my girlfriend or even my friends or roommates, okay, I would want to stick with them if they had the same plans as I did, which is to go north. If not, I would rather stay alone because having people with you in this situation is only going to make your chance of survival a lot less likely.
It's
It
going to
makes life more
complicate
dangerous.
things, and you got to communicate, therefore slightly complicating. People got different diets. People are strong, not strong. People are.
But not even just that, bro. You brought up bears. A bear starts fucking like chasing you down, right? And he's about to eat your face. I'm gonna try to stop him, right? And what if I stop him from eating your face, but then he eats mine? And like, while I wouldn't mind dying for you, Colin, in this situation, if I was alone, like I wouldn't have to worry about anyone else. And this goes even more with a girl because let's say you're traveling north with your
Ooh,
female
heartbreak.
companion,
Girl
right?
gets
And
eaten
then
by a
some
bear.
pack of dudes comes around and they chase you guys down. They catch her and they rape her, or they're trying to rape her and you want to stop it, and then there's 5 of them, and then they hold you down, they kill you, then they rape her anyway. You know, I've thought about this shit a lot. Like the it depends on how you
Well,
feel.
it's not a very
If the
pretty
whole point is to
scenario ever.
survive, if the whole point is to survive, I'd rather be alone. But if my quality of life diminishes to the point where life isn't worth it, then obviously you want to have that person. Now, I've never been in this situation to know which direction I'll go in or how I'll feel about it. But just for survival sakes, you go north alone.
The being by yourself, there's so much to gain when you're with other people to collaborate with, but also if you're by yourself and it's like for good, it's really hard to, how can you ever like want to pull through? You'd have to rape and pillage or something because you're by yourself, and if everything's for yourself and then your time is almost done and you can't reproduce, it'd be hard to be
So
motivated.
I would like to think of it like this, like, every once in a while on your journeys, you meet someone you like, you start a fire, you eat a fish, you know
She's got fermented grapes,
yeah, man,
and
like,
they're
and then
they're they're raunchy, but they're good.
yeah, and then you exchange pleasantries, and after maybe a night or a couple of days together, you continue on your own individual journeys.
Mm. That's how I like to live my life. That's how I like to have
Right now in
companions.
normal life.
That's how I like to live now. There's just no bloodshed.
Yeah.
It's really,
Yeah. That's
really
the most
nice.
optimal way to do this. Of course, now we like circle back into the beginning of human, you know, construction, because then she gets pregnant. She's a single mom. She's on her own. No, she needs to have a man there. Not, for many
It's
reasons.
helpful.
She's gonna
I
want you. She's gonna want a relationship. But yeah, man. The key is, as well, just as important in my opinion as being alone, is going north. Most people will probably want to go south where it's more habitable, the
That's what I
weather's
think. The
warmer.
people up north want to go south. The people down south want to go north.
I'm in the middle. I've always been like a middle guy as far as where I've lived for the most part, except for when I was in Arizona. But I just know that, like, life is going to be easier the warmer the weather is, um, especially if you're near like an ocean or a sea. But no one wants to have to like build a fire every day just to survive, right? So if I go north, my greatest um, enemy, it would be something like weather or like animals, but it wouldn't be humans. And to me, that's, it's worth the added stress or work that it would take to survive.
Did you know that's what we do? Did you like 100 years ago? Like my grandfather, that's what
Yeah.
he did. That's all. And he's like, there's a better way of living than here among all these people in Europe. And you move to a place where there's more space, less people, and you're lighting, like, we light fires every day here. We keep the fire going. These days, we don't have to keep it going in the day because it's going up to 15 Celsius. Not even sure what Fahrenheit is. Uh, but in the dead of winter here by myself, the fire was my best friend. -20. If I let that fire go out, the kitchen taps froze this year, even with me there, even with the fire on. It's too close to the wall, and in between the oven and the wall, the kitchen tap's frozen solid. So, all right, can't drink any water. Bathroom tap was still good to go. So that's where I might have got water for cooking, until later in the day. Like I moved everything out and like tried to shake things around. But when I was by myself, when it was -20 in the nights, -26, -24, whatever, which is not even how cold it was for the parents up north in the -30s. Fire, best friend. No, I was aware when it was going out. In the middle of the night, I'd wake up like 3 times. You notice the heat and the presence of your friend struggling a little bit, and I maybe have to get outside to get another piece of wood. Like slippers going through the snow, hoping none of the snow slips into the slippers because it just bites the feet. And although with cold training, I like toughing it out and trying to just not being too scared of that whole situation. But that's what we've been doing, you know. And so if you want that life now, come on over. But there's a lot less people.
Yeah,
That's
for a
Canada.
reason. I mean, I yeah, I definitely, that's the thing. I'm acknowledging that it's difficult and it's not enjoyable. So I don't want it now at all. But
It's
for that
enjoyable.
reason,
It's actually
for that
rewarding.
reason, see, so I say that, but like my parents live in a very old, for American standards, a very old house. There's fireplaces in uh, th- four four of the rooms in the house have fireplaces, um, and the ceilings are very high. The place isn't very well insulated. So the point is, in the winter, it gets very cold, and my parents do have an oil heater in the basement, but they also burn wood. And it's the whole process of chopping it and letting it dry the year before you can burn it and that whole thing, man. Their house is surrounded by the forest, so they never have a shortage of it. But man, I
That's what you'd have to do in the
I
pandemic, buddy. In the crazy
even with
pandemic.
the heat on and the fireplace going, I just found myself going to sleep cold every night. And yeah, I just didn't enjoy it. Like um
Well, you might need to
no,
reconsider your emergency plan because
no. See that's what I'm saying. Again, I'm acknowledging that that would be a shitty way to live. But what I'm saying to you is that it'll increase my chances of surviving.
yeah, because the humans won't want to do that in general.
Right.
That's
You
why
said what did you say the temperature was there?
so I was by myself here maybe a month and a week ago, and for 5 days in a row it was dropping to minus 24, minus 26 at
And what about
nighttime.
today?
Today it was 15 degrees in the day, and in the nighttime it's dropping to minus 2
Is that's global
or
warming or
minus 6. Honestly, yeah, that's what my parents are saying. They've not seen
yeah,
it be so warm like that
but
so
bro,
fast.
that's a blessing, isn't it? Like everyone's freaking out, like, oh, we have to do something about the global. Who doesn't like warm weather? It's a good thing. It's making human life. It's improving the quality of human life.
So
The
I think
shorter winters.
maybe it's just like maybe there's gonna be a middle range, a belt in the center, just like there's an upper range. Um, it's gonna be 50 degrees all the time, which then
Mm.
builds sand and death to a lot of that belt. But now we're talking more of the northern parts of Canada, probably Russia as well. Well, Russia and Canada mainly, and the Finlands and stuff, are going to be much more livable. Ocean temperature is going to rise, but man, yeah, everyone's just going to have a hard time. The fish that die, we survive off of it.
Bro, again, like this,
Neuralink.
this, no, these patterns, these changes in the planet have happened over and over and over again.
Yeah,
Our
there's just
planet used to be
dramatically obvious ones with the course of the human population rising and the coincidental CO2 amount, like
right,
super
but
coincidental.
like, here's the thing: we don't know how long it took for example, we don't know exactly how long it took for like ice to build up over basically the whole planet, or for their, how long it took for it to finish. Technically, right now we're at the end of the last ice age, meaning there was multiple ice ages. There was a time when you could walk from Russia to the United States. The ocean levels were so low that you could walk across the Pacific Ocean, you know? And like how
Right?
long did that take to get that low? Or how long did it take for it to flood? The point is, like, who knows, maybe we can say that, like, humans are influencing the weather, or at this point the warming of the planet. We can say that. It's I think it's an easy way out. But the bottom line is, I think without, if there was not one human on this planet, we would be going through the exact same changes at virtually the exact same speed. I don't think we've made that much of a difference.
Oh man, that like what makes you think that, like, against scientific evidence? What makes you think that, like,
Look,
when you see the
okay,
scientific
so
evidence, where is
okay,
it in your heart that you're like, I don't want to, like, I get you guys, I see your point, but I don't think that's gives
well,
some
because
shit.
the scientific evidence shows that this has already happened.
But not to such like a crazy spike, kind of like the Bitcoin.
Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? So if you're gonna say that, then what was the rate before?
I think it was slower. And they show it
But we have no
through,
proof of that. There's no
yeah,
proof of that.
man,
There's no.
through the ice, through the stones, through uh maybe just like earth cores being like you drill into the earth, but the same way they drill into ice, and the same way that they, like, sheer rock faces are destroyed. You can look at the layers of the years that have gone past, and sometimes like years and years in the past. There's a great documentary by the old guy David Attenborough about his life and the changes he's seen, and he brings up some evidence as well, or evidence, whatever, theories, and he goes up to the rock, and he talks about the rock and how there's a mass extinction event just around the years of the dinosaurs that they're predicting, and how the change in rock can show you the past. And when we make graphs of the CO2 in the atmosphere due to atmospheres and, sorry, due to ice ages and fires and catastrophic events in the natural flow of the earth, it's a lot smoother than these days. These days, it's a massive spike or a super steep slant that has never been seen in the recorded history as far as we can look, as well as the human population.
One thing that this is what like kind of convinced me of this theory or idea that I had with this. There's maybe a couple things, but one of them is there were some fossilized remains of like frozen fossilized remains of like woolly mammoths, and when they examined their bodies, they found that it appeared that these mammoths had been frozen, like flash frozen. Something had cooled the temperature of the planet
Go on.
so quickly that they were frozen like
Super
immediately.
fast.
There was like, yeah, like there was no like if they had been um like if they had rotted a bit longer before they froze, like it would have been apparent in their tissue or whatever was left of it. But in this case, yeah, based on like every other fossilized remains of mammoths they found, these were totally different, and it indicated they were like flash frozen. The point is, there's no explanation for it, and I mean, even just take something like, oh God, I can't remember this guy's name, but he's like an archaeologist, and he talks about some like crazy, I don't know, I say mass extinctions, but like just human changing events. One that happened in the I guess around Africa region, which caused some crazy spike in like ocean levels, where they can see on like the pyramids and other buildings, structures in Egypt, that the oceans had like risen super high, um, and apparently they found like lightning strikes that when they look at the patterns, it looked as if lightning was just raining from the sky everywhere, just electrocuting all the ground. And so the point is, I just think there's like all kinds of things that have happened that have dramatically changed our planet in a short amount of time. And I'm not going to say that we're not affecting the planet. But what I will say is, I'm also not convinced that what we're experiencing with the global temperatures going up, even at this rate, wouldn't happen even if we weren't here. I'm not. I need to show. I need someone to show me evidence that says that nothing like this has ever happened before. Not necessarily in this exact way, but like someone needs to discredit all the other major like quick events that seem to have changed the planet. Find an explanation why those didn't happen, and then I'll say, okay, so this one is special. This Earth heating up thing, this is like the real deal. But I just think this happens.
I think we are a part of the earth too. And if you look at the earth, maybe the earth set itself up to grow a whole bunch of humans for itself. We are a product of the earth. Like, how can we deny that we're not directly related to it? Every single bit of food, water has been shared. All we're gaining all together as the earth, and whatever whatever kind of animal we came from, we are the earth. And the earth might have just set itself up to be like this, and it's just doing this to itself, but we're these weird self-aware egotistical beings that are like, dog, we're doing this, we got the power.
Yeah.
Like, the earth has the power to make us all in the first place.
Bro, all it's gonna take. Okay, that's just like, I mean, you've seen like pictures of craters on the Earth, right?
Yes.
The moon is covered in them.
Yep. Why?
That
Why?
shit's gonna fucking happen again, bro. And we're like, oh my
At some
god,
point.
like it's going. Yeah, and let me ask you a question. Do you think that if you were 10 minutes away from this event happening right now, that it would be on the news?
Maybe. I think it could. Yeah. Why not?
Okay, guys, so this is officially our last day being alive. Godspeed. No, bro. They're not
I
gonna
think
say a
so. I
fucking
think
word.
fucking news people, some of them will be like, man, I don't know what else I'm doing with my life. I only have the news. I deliver it. I need to do that.
I think that yeah, imagine that it's your last moments, Colin. Like
I'm not a
you
news
could
guy.
sitting there with a mic. Is anyone even going to be watching the news? Are you going to be watching the news if this
That's
is?
how we're gonna
Let's say
find
you're this
out.
whole,
Some people aren't gonna find
gonna
out. They're just gonna be walking, trying to hitchhike.
you're
Just
you're
trying
gonna
to hitchhike.
you're gonna
10
like
minutes
dump
and
an
just die.
entire gram of cocaine. You're gonna dump an entire gram of cocaine onto the table. You're gonna
If
sniff
you
that
have
bad
it,
boy,
if
and right before you overdose, a giant fucking meteor is gonna smash into the earth and kill everyone.
fucking DMT, smoke a
Yeah,
big
man.
wad of that. I was at the Oregon eclipse in 2017, which is a total solar eclipse, and where you can view that, where it's really a perfect ring from the moon going in front of the sun. It is great. It's a fun time. It is such a cool coincidence that we study that and we know where it's going to hit, or where that shadow is going to pass over the earth perfectly, and you can line yourself up there. But some guy, there's a small lake at this in the middle of the festival, and I think it's a natural lake. um he's sold on the fact that he's gonna float out into the middle of it for the eclipse, and right before he knows it's gonna be full, take the biggest hit of DMT he ever has in his life, laying back in this tube in the middle of the lake, and let the eclipse happen slash connect with the biosphere of the universe. It was full on. That guy is a spiritual warrior. That guy is gonna come back with knowledge, or he already has. I just ran into him, and he just was open enough about that's what he was gonna do. He was holding a dinghy, and all I wanted to do, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was just walking around. I was just looking at the sun, and I'm like, wow, that's kind of crazy. You got those sweet glasses, look up at the sun, and the moon is moving in front of it. And you're like, hold it. When I was on the ground too, some people have been following this, and apparently, I might mess this up, but something like 300 meters per second, you can watch the shadow come towards you. Maybe it was 30,000 meters a second. So if you're watching the far horizon, which is like 14 kilometers away, and you're watching the shadow come towards you, you can maybe be lucky to see it. If you blink, you wouldn't see it. People say they can see it. I never saw it, but it was so fast, then instantly just dark, and the birds stopped, and everybody was quiet because it was super hot, dusty daylight, and that dust that's floating through the air and the sun shines through it. Can't see it anymore. It's dark and quiet, and you can look. Then I took my glasses off and just looked up at this beautiful ring. I'd do it again.
What was that the eclipse or the event where they were saying you shouldn't look up? They were telling
they
people
say
like,
that
if you
all the
wanted to
time.
watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you look at it and it's not full, and people might even say don't look at it when it's full. I did not give a shit. I'm like, I'm catching this without a filter. This is, and I did, and it didn't hurt, and I didn't get caught with a UV ray or something that burnt my retina or nothing. I never had that. I had a housemate in New Zealand. She just was walking home. It was a sunny day, and she just caught she just took a glimpse up, but the sun was lower than she expected. So she just caught a glimpse of the sun, as we've done 1,000 times. But at that moment, there must have been a wave of radiation coming from the sun, and it timed. And she had a sunspot in her eye for something like a couple weeks just from an accident and timing. And like, that thing's a live machine. It's not consistent. And that moment was just unlucky for her to look at it. But they do tell you not to look at the sun. Yeah, because it fucking hurts. I threw on like 4 pairs of sunglasses, and that wasn't the same as wearing the glasses that they give you. It still hurts your eyes looking, and it's ridiculous what that looks like. 4 sets of glasses, you're trying to aim it and look at the sun. Yeah.
You know, I experienced an unusual event here a couple of months ago. Maybe you've experienced thunder snow.
I have experienced sunshine thunder.
Yeah, I've experienced that too,
I
bro. But
don't even know where the fuck it. Go on.
I was speaking to I was on the phone with my mom. I'm sitting here in my apartment, and I hear this explosion, followed by another one a couple minutes later. And I look outside because I can hear people leaving the apartment, like and talking outside in the middle of the night. And you see flashes in the sky, and I look, and it's snowing. And then I go on Facebook, and everyone's like, "What is that? What is that?" And some intelligent people wrote, "Yeah, it's thunder snow." Yeah, apparently it's
Who
like
are these intelligent people?
Rare. Yeah, man, I don't know, like book nerds or people that are more intelligent.
So was it snowing before the thunder?
I don't know. I mean, I hadn't looked outside. I wasn't thinking about whether, I was just on the phone with my mom, and then when I looked outside to see what was going on, I could see it was snowing, and then yeah, just like lightning and thunder, but while it was snowing.
I've never seen that. Only other thing, it was full sunshine, and I was playing StarCraft upstairs, and by this age, I must have been 17 or something. I'm not supposed to be playing computer games. I should be developing wood chopping skills, providing a little more for the family, doing the fucking dishes downstairs. And sometimes my dad would come up, and I knew that he would just be not stoked that I'm on the computer again all day, most days. But I was playing StarCraft, and I swear to God, like, maybe he threw something at the side of the house where I was in or something. This was my initial thought. But then it felt like a tree had just fallen on the house, and the whole thing, it just felt like a tree had gone right beside me and shook the house, and was so loud that it was that scenario. I look around, not a thing's happened, but the internet was down, and the power glitched out. I'm like, Jesus, what just happened? What just happened? Head outside. My dad, I've never seen him walk in such a peculiar way. He was like throwing his legs super high in the air and just holding his gut and just being like, "Holy fuck, did you see that?" And he said he has no idea what happened. It was so loud and a shock, but 30 meters away in the neighbor's tree, lightning had hit the tree, and so much of a visual shock and noise. Like the noise fucking shook the house. It felt like it moved it an entire foot.
Mm.
He had no idea where or what the hell had just happened either. And I was just like, well, what? Oh my, what? So we went for a walk around, tried to talk to some people about the whole UFO situation. But we saw the tree. It had kind of like scars you might see in a person who would get shocked by thunder. Just it blew off bark in a spiral pattern directly down the tree. There was bark everywhere around it, and it just goes down the bark because that's where the water's at with growing trees. Water ain't totally in the middle,
Mad.
mainly on the outside.
Fucking mad, bro. Yeah. Yeah. Still working on the same joint there?
So this is a one hitter.
Oh,
So,
okay, okay.
so I'm just packing it
Gotcha.
up, having a smoke. I don't often smoke. This has been a while. I'd been craving it for like 2 or 3 days, having some weed. But then when I go through my conscious thinking mind, I don't want to. I just think it slows me down. You won't be productive. Why don't you just go for a run, or why don't you make more music or try to promote yourself on this thing? And then I just start doing one of those things.
Yeah.
But it's a good occasion. And this particular weed was grown nearby, which is all legal and sweet here, nearby with a friend. And it just feels like absolute 70s kind of shit. It's so light, and the body just feels really easily high, and it's not invasive at all. I just feel like fucking grooving. I feel like disco. I wouldn't smoke that much usually. It would rock my socks. I'd have like a one puff or a half puff, and I would be like, yeah, I can't even talk in this interview right now, but I'm having a good time with this. I just saw you smoking some. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the chefs in the kitchen brought me like a gram and a half. I don't smoke much either, but at
Thanks,
nighttime,
chef.
if I have some, yeah, sometimes at night it's good. It's good, especially if I have some free time in the morning because I don't really wake up that well when I smoke. Um, so that's probably
Me
the only
too.
side effect I really feel. That and my eyes get super red, but
It's a weed
um,
hangover.
yeah. So yeah, I mean that's kind of like pretty much it as far as like how I smoke. I really don't even like that much smoking with friends because I just feel antisocial, bit of
Yeah.
anxiety, you know.
Yeah. For anyone who like might be listening, it's okay whatever you feel about weed. And I'd say try it
Yeah.
every once in a while, but everybody goes through whatever. Like you don't have to, you don't gotta smoke the weed at that time. Like, fuck it. Like if it makes you feel antisocial, I have been a big uh I've been like that a long time and haven't been super into weed just because doesn't feel like it's most productive. Sleep gets crazy, do feel antisocial, and I love being very social, making people laugh, trying to uh, navigate through all the individuals, get a few words in with everybody. The few words you trade, like then people start talking about you, and then you start blowing up, buddy. Start blowing up in Prague.
Mm.
Oh, the wanted to ask if you were a mean boss at your restaurant. Obviously, you would be mean. You feel
No,
the intimidation, or are you guys feeling parallel? Or
I'm fair but firm. It's tested right off the bat. I brought in a few people, and in the first 2-3 days, I did have to fire someone.
whew,
And business is business. I don't have the um
did that hurt?
no.
Needed to happen.
Because this was like there was no other way. You can't. There's just certain things you can't do and expect for everything to be okay. And I'm in a position now where, as I said, I bet on black. I bet, no pun intended, but I bet on myself.
Mm.
Uh, and if this doesn't work out, it's everything. It's disastrous for me, and I'm not gonna risk that or the business for anyone. Um,
Yeah.
I'm respectful, but I'm direct. I'm fair, and I'm approachable as well. So I think because of that, my employees do respect me, and I definitely respect them as well. That's why they all are still employed.
Hmm. And yeah, it's just a floating relationship. they
Yeah,
they
I
respect
have a
you. They're
great
gonna
team
work
though.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, have a great team. You know, I feel thankful uh, that I have each and every one of them on board.
Shout out to you, team.
Team Nosh, yeah, good
How are
job,
you
guys.
feeling, Bruce?
At this very moment,
Yep.
I'm feeling a little bit tired. Yeah,
No
we
doubt.
got 3 a.m. here. This has been a long one.
Yeah. We time schedule here is 3 minutes 6 since I started recording. That could have been 6 minutes before we even started vibing. Yeah, the way I wanted to start was by, letting people know who you are if they don't know. So if people listen to me, they know who I am, then I introduce you, right? I think I did let people
Yeah,
know my feelings about you, then got you well introduced, and then just let it rip. See what happens.
yeah, we riffed away, didn't we? I think
What
we covered a lot of topics.
I think, yeah, I can barely remember 45 minutes in exactly what we were talking about. Was that, were we into COVID yet? We hit, I think all conversations these days do hit a part of COVID, such a big
Well, yeah,
changing
it's just
factor.
because yeah, it's affected us all in different ways, and um, it's even for me, someone who like isn't afraid of it, doesn't and sees a bit more of a sinister human-made aspect to this thing.
The
It's
Darwin effect, I think, is survival of the fittest, eh? Something
Yeah,
like that.
but this is you know still in such a heavy dramatic way affected my life, my family's life, my friends. So it's like when any major event happens in your life,
Girls.
it's good to get it off your chest. It's good
Hey,
to
man,
release it.
do you think I was weird when I acted this way with this girl? Or do you think I fired a guy today? I don't know. It was a weird thing. Never did that before. Mm.
Yeah.
So it's funny how I think podcasts might go, because when I thought of you, I just remember hanging out in your dining area. Um, Mainly that, I think, for a podcast style thing. We just get into the longest conversations every night. And I remember hearing about how you made your way from America to Prague, from being slinging pizzas with the boys, and you just like speak with such love and enthusiasm. And I'm glad I got to listen, or like I don't know what made that come out, but it was in you that you had such a history slinging these. I think it was, I don't know, maybe $5 pies, you'd call it. And it was maybe a group of your gang that started this pizza joint. And you just, yeah, I love the way you told those stories. And then I expect or think that someone might retell those stories, but it's never the case. Those are everything that's chasing the moment again. That's like chasing the past relationships in any situation, or trying to get someone to tell a story the same way you felt it. Usually when you watch a video and you have a great time watching it, when you share that video with somebody and try to do the same thing, fucking, it's not the
Yeah,
same. They
it'll
don't,
never be. Yeah.
and they never felt it the same way.
Yeah, man, those were some deep chats, and basically followed the same script as our conversation today. I didn't expect anything less.
Mm. I think it's important with us, I guess, like having a certain admiration for each other or love, to want to make sure we're well, just digging into how you're doing. And also, I think when I was staying with you, just like, because I have trust, then my things that go on in my own time, then I just ask, like, have you been in this situation? And turns out sometimes you have, or a variation of it. And then you just
Mm.
get to listen in and soak up other people's varieties of, mainly love, if I can. And there's not many people in the world that I can have conversations about relationships. And I love when another guy is open about it. One other guy in the UK, not many guys have talked to like as deeply as we have, which I'm fortunate for.
Yeah, I probably say the same thing, even like
Maybe because I
some of
ask.
my friends.
Maybe you ask
Some of
her.
my friends I know have gone through the craziest situations with girls, and like I know for a fact that when they're dealing with that girl, their emotions come out. They open up, or maybe even behave in ways they shouldn't. Um, but when they talk to me or their other friends, they have this uh, barrier up. They make it seem like, yeah, they don't care. It's not that deep, not that dramatic of a experience that they're having. Uh, but yeah, it's good to be able to fully open up. And when you like someone, express it fully, or when you're getting your heart broken, being able to express that fully as well, and not be afraid or feel shame.
It's crazy, but well, Prague, the Wild West, and the reason you probably couldn't sleep when you're in America, like, the feeling for me, and I tried to explain it to my mom, being like, it's just, things are just, there's less rules and no one like, I don't think you even get judged for being a drug addict. You might just enter a crazy binge party and it's not a big deal. It's kind of just what you do. Bars are open all night there. And that's kind of fun and loose because you can go that deep into things, but you can also thrive because it's a beautiful city and there's money to be made. It has this like an accepting kind of party vibe to it. But that wasn't the point I was trying to make. I was trying to get into mm,
I know what you mean, though. It's very, um, it's a very
why is it so
accepting
fun?
country.
Yeah.
People just whatever you're into, you can get into it here. No one's gonna judge you for it. Just get your little bits done that you have to do to keep your head above water,
That's what your
and
friends
do your
like.
thing.
Yeah, your
Yeah,
friends
and even if
appreciate
people
that.
have a strong opinion about what is right and what is wrong, they keep it to themselves here. They keep
Mm.
it to themselves. Most people are just, they just don't mind your business.
Hmm.
Think about how many times you left some nightclub here, traveling home from at like 8 a.m. when everyone's going to work. You smell like the bar, you cigarettes and everything. The look on your face is probably terrifying for people, and it's just like, yeah, just another guy coming home like after a heavy night. You see it every day, or
Hmm.
at least during normal time period.
And it's kind of relieving. I don't, and parts of me love that as well. Love the beer and being up all night to listen to great music till 5 or 6. That that's awesome. Love the ability to be able to do that. Kind of hard on the
But
body, but yeah, live twice as hard and your life's half as long.
these
Like,
guys,
it's the
these guys
same.
out here now, we got two guys in the group who I won't say their names, but they're able to party for sometimes even 3 4 days in a row. Very little to no sleep, very little to no food, just mixing alcohol with cocaine, with ecstasy, with MDMA, with ket, with weed, just
Shake
and
and
just
bake, baby. Shake and bake.
it's incredible. I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. I played football with these two individuals. on Sunday. They hadn't slept. They hadn't eaten. They were on all these substances I mentioned, and they came out to play American football. Everyone's looking at them like they can't believe their eyes.
Hustling
And they said, it was quite the experience.
raises the
And things like
question: where does energy come from? These guys must have just had a great weekend, didn't even want to sleep, and then loving each
they do
substance
have
they're
different
having.
they do have different energy. What is very interesting to me though is that they never do this on their own or with other people. They only do this when they get together. These two.
I I like them. I like their spirit.
You definitely met at least one of them, but again, I won't
Perfect.
mention any names.
Perfect. Good people.
Yeah, but yeah, it puts the days of staying at Chapeau till 5 a.m. to shame. I can remember that when that was like, whoa, like I can't believe I was out till 5 a.m.
That's what I wanted to wrap in together. Is like why like got to even realize you were nice or someone I wanted to respect. And it was just the days of being up late, and it was just casual, and we would just finish the night like kind of ritually having a joint, which wasn't the best idea at all. It didn't help anything. It was just to be apart and show that we wanted to be together with each other, let alone nights where if we were just off, we would just maybe send it to anywhere of our pleasing just for the heck of it, to try to make a good time out of it. Um, Hanging out late, loving the experience of it, bonding through the joints, getting, I guess, just having real talk, and maybe similar upbringings makes people um, have similar mindsets. But you're a slight generation above me, or yeah, almost a
I think we
generation.
both come from humble beginnings, and from families
Loving
that,
parents.
yeah, yeah. Our families both have probably been through a bunch of stuff, and you know, basically instilled in us hard work and a realistic mentality, and also, yeah, like I said, just love and compassion for others.
God damn, funny times, great times.
Uh,
Oh,
uh,
the it's a hub of travel as well, and the movement of ladies and gentlemen coming through from all countries and getting to know ethnicities, and like understanding like how to even make jokes about full ethnicities based on our experiences with them, be it Russian, be it Italian, be it Irish, be it Asian, understanding how it's
oh,
all going to
check.
go down, and then
Yeah.
finding out, watching nice ladies cruise by and just making jokes, and also trying to pick them up. Not you though, respectively, with your beautiful partner at the time.
At the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at the time. Yeah.
Which ties into
Those
how you ended up
those
coming to
were, yeah, those,
Czech.
yeah, definitely. I mean, but those were, I think, even in 20, 30, 40 years from now, uh, the moments and the memories that I had here, those first, let's say, 6 to 8 months living in Prague, are going to be some of the most fun and um, constructive years of my life as far as shaping um, my core beliefs and who I am now. I mean, I can't think of a time that's impacted me more, and maybe a large portion of that is because of the individual relationships that I've made with people. Um, you you move to a new country and everything is stripped away. and then plugging into me before my eyes is these people from all around the world. I mean, almost none of my friends came from the same country. All these different languages and everything just kind of hitting you all at once. Um, and it changed me. It changed the way I think about the world.
I think you're half of that whole relationship. What happened was half all you that gave it to yourself. And I think we were lucky to run into who we did. And like, people could have such a shit time, and I'm sure tons of people do. Fucking the people we ran into, and the trust and the respect in ourselves, bringing ourselves the best outcome, gave us such a free, unique, loving, fucking trippy opportunity. I'd recommend it.
Big facts.
When times change up, keep moving around, or from my boat, try new things.
Yeah, that's one thing that was never. I've always been a dig my roots in kind of person. I just didn't know where that was going to be, and I moved here, and quickly I realized that this was it. Even though so much has changed, and the reason why I fell in love with this place, I mean, my life's totally different from compared to then to now. The people that I see on a regular basis are totally different, but it hasn't changed how I feel about living here, and that's how I know I'm most likely in the right place.
Awesome. Prague, Czech Republic. Okay, I think we should wrap this up. We should,
yeah, bro.
We should get some water. We should brush our teeth. I'm gonna check out what to eat. Probably hit the beer store, supply Buddy with a beer because I took one. And thank you for being on the show. And is there anything I can do, or anything you want to mention to anyone who might listen?
No, man, just thank you for having me on, and for anyone who does listen to this podcast, just know that Colin's a great dude. He's definitely one of my best mates, and I feel lucky to have him in my life. So enjoy his show, enjoy this episode, and sayonara for now.
Yeah, let it be. What did someone's oh It's relieving. The podcast episodes are therapy for the people who even do them, as well as anyone who gets to listen to people opening up. I appreciate it on both spectrums.
Yep.
Thank you.
100%.
Because I get to hang out and talk to a friend and get to know him more. Okay, bye, everybody.
Beautiful thing.